Cavaliers in Game 1 this Saturday. It's a pleasure to be joined by Coach Nick, B-Ball Breakdown, the best in the biz. Coach, it's great to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
And everyone out here, salute Knicks fans. Get excited. Are you ready to have a conversation?
I'm in.
Coach, yeah, what a season it's been. I know you were actually, we've talked to you throughout the season, but here we are, the New York Knicks finishing in the 5th seed. Tom Thibodeau, a lot of people thought he sucked the best he could out of this team and the roster. They made an addition at the trade deadline with Josh Hart, and I finished the season hot. What are you expecting, from the Knicks heading into the playoffs based on the regular season play?
I mean, that's a great question. I think everybody is wondering what the answer to that is. And they got Cleveland, which is an interesting matchup as well for them. I just did a video where I outlined, some of the cooler sets that the MVP candidates run. Obviously Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid. But then at the end, I actually said, there needs to be more consideration for Jalen Brunson. Not that he will really win it because his numbers just aren't quite robust enough compared to those guys, but um,
Yeah.
I kind of thought that like what he did to turn around the whole culture. And by the way, this wasn't even my idea. This was Doug Gottlieb tweeted it out, and then he was supposed to even come on the show and do it, and then he wasn't available. But I did the video anyway, and anyway, but his point stood was that they increased by 10 wins, and a lot of things that he brings to the table were a lot of things that shored up what they were suffering with last year. And I think that obviously any coach looks a lot better when you have a guy like Brunson on your team. So you can rely on
Mm,
him to make good decisions, get the team in the right spots, and get good shots a lot easier than without a guy like that. And that puts everybody else in a different pecking order as well. So I don't know. I mean, I think that with the 5th seed, they don't have the home court advantage against Cleveland, right? And so that's probably going to be the biggest issue they might ultimately have to beating Cleveland in this series. But I suspect it's going to go long. I bet you I wouldn't be surprised if this went 7 games. And the only problem at
mm,
that point is if it goes 7 games, then you can't really pick against the home team.
yeah. I can understand that. Definitely, I think Cleveland deserved their seeding, finished 3 games ahead. And I think obviously the factor is the Knicks really, if they want to have a great chance, they need to steal 1 game in the first 3 games and then win back home court. And they've had, I don't know if you've seen the home record and away this season, but the New York Knicks have won a game in Cleveland.
Hmm.
They lost the first game in Cleveland in October with Kevin Love on the roster. He shot 8 threes that night. But then the Knicks won all other 3 games, 2 at MSG this season. They shot the ball really well. But the the fascinating part of this series is a lot of the lineups weren't the whole lineup. Julius Randle missed the last game. I think Jarrett Allen has missed some time as well. So it's going to create a situation where I think game 1, game 2, it's going to be that feeling out process that it generally is. And I feel like that's the best time to steal a game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going to have to steal one of the first 2 games on the road, which isn't that uncommon these days anymore. We see that happen often, and the other team gets control of home court advantages right back. And obviously, that's their only hope. I mean, if they're down 0-2, then you also, again, the numbers will tell you that they're going to lose that series a whole lot of times. I fired up the game from January when we had pretty much full strength for both teams. The Knicks did not have Mitchell. But that was about it. But other than that, they had everybody else, and the Knicks did win that game by 2. So it was kind of fascinating to watch because I suspect that'll be an indication of sort of where we're going to go. I'm not even sure where I'd even start looking
Mm.
through it, but obviously, the Knicks are going to have their hands full dealing with the backcourt, and I think that that's going to be a real key for them is can they keep them out of the middle? And it was funny because I was watching some of this, and you can hear someone yelling like "No middle, no middle," and you can hear
Yep.
them really focus on that. And obviously, Thibodeau has built his defenses for a long time on that concept. Because once the ball gets into the middle, that's when you get a lot of problems. You get fouls, you get open threes. So that's going to be the real key. And obviously, Donovan Mitchell, it's not a surprise. We're going to be looking at him, but obviously, if he goes well, then I would suspect the Cavaliers would also play, find some wins out of that.
Yeah, the the focus is going to be on Spider, but that's the worry with Garland potentially going off. I think the New York Knicks bench is definitely the upper hand over the two teams, with Emmanuel quickly coming in, averaging 20 points per game in the last 10 games of the season. He's in really good form. Isaiah Hartenstein, who we talked about last time, has been a really good backup big man, also giving great minutes off the bench. And then Josh Hart coming off the bench. It's going to create a situation where Tom has a lot of options, I think, to roll through different players. Maybe if Randle's not ready for game one, but we just had a tweet from Woj about 30 minutes ago before we went on, and Woj was saying that Randle's targeting game one. So it's looking more likely. He's questionable, but if Randle plays, I think that's a huge boost for the New York Knicks because the rebounding is where they do have that edge.
Yeah. Oh wait, let me check. Wait, Randall's rebounding
Mm.
per game. Yeah. Okay. Well, I forgot. He actually averaged double digits. It's pretty impressive in that minute in his time. I mean, yeah. There's no
Yeah.
question that if they don't have Randall at full strength, it's another one of those things that's going to be a real problem for them because they're going to need him. Let me just check. In the game they won by 2, Randall. What did he score? He had 36 points. He was on fire from 3 in the beginning. Let me make sure that was right at the end. Did he finish that way? Yeah. Let's see. He went 8 for. He made 8 threes. And they squeaked out that win. I think the whole team was shooting really well. Let me make sure that's right too on my thing. Right, that was one of those things where it's like, is that an anomaly that they could make that many threes? Let me see here real quick. They went 17 for 33, over 50%. So that's obviously not going to happen. I doubt you're going to see anywhere near that from them at all during the series. So another reason why the Knicks are going to be concerned because of a lot of these different factors. And again, Randall might play, but I doubt he's going to be 100% because of the ankle,
Yeah.
and that might be an issue. Although you could also argue that maybe he'll try and do less, and that could be more for the Knicks.
Yeah. Oh, I like what you just said there. Obviously, he's got to work his way into shape to conditioning. He hasn't played for 3 weeks or so, and then going into the playoff pressure is going to be big. So that's why I'm in favor of resting Randall for game one. I don't know if
Mhm.
you've seen the schedule. There's a 3-day but in between from game one and game two. So if you just sit out game one, you're playing with house money, and then you have a chance to change the series by bringing in such a big X factor with that. And then obviously the Knicks played really fast in Cleveland the last game without Randle that they won. And I know you're a bit of a fan of Obi Toppin and the looks he could give the Knicks.
Absolutely, and Obi, he hit a 3 or 2 in my mind, so I can picture him doing that in that first meeting in January. Yeah, I mean it's a whole different dynamic when Obi is in the game versus Randall because Randall is going to, they'll run their offense and they'll have to do like some sort of a handoff, and he'll just fake the handoff and keep the ball, and then dribble the ball 10 times and try and look for an ISO. He does that a lot. He's earned that. Obviously, he scores a lot of points, and he's had that role before. Whereas Obi,
Yeah,
he's going to hand it off. He's going to roll. The ball will move. And again, it's all depending on, if Randall's going, then great. And if he's not, then it's a problem. And then plus what you might get on the other side of the court. It's an interesting dynamic. And I got to give credit to Thibs. I didn't really feel great about it. But I do feel like at this point, he has been maximizing what he can get out of this team. But that said, Brunson, we can't say enough for Brunson and what he's done. And, they might have had the 4th seed if Brunson had played more games.
yeah, yeah. And also Josh Hart maybe started the season with the New York Knicks. When they did get Hart coach, the Knicks went on a 9-game winning streak um, as soon as they got Josh Hart just prior to the trade period. So
Yeah.
I feel like this is the most even series. 4-5 is generally the most even, but I think even in the East, everyone's got their eyes on this series in terms of entertainment value. And you said it, possibly going 6 or 7. I can't see it going any less than 6. It's just going to
Right.
be so much back and forth, so many close games. It might come down to injury factors.
Mhm.
On the Cleveland side, Isaac Okoro, their best defender, is also under an injury cloud. He has not practiced with contact also. So, and then they're talking about Evan Mobley being the second best perimeter defender. So what do you feel like if Isaac Okoro is not 100%? How do you see the elite defense of Cleveland, stopping the Knicks?
That's going to be a real problem because obviously, you have the big guys who can really affect shots, but the last thing you want to have them deal with is like a straight line drive where they don't have any chance or time to like get in better position to defend, and that's when they can get fouls. And that's the thing. Let me check. It does. I forgot to check if they have a foul issue. Does Mobley or Allen foul a lot? Let's see here. That's a good question. I'm trying
I
to think
do
in my
think
head.
I
Yeah.
do think definitely Mobley can get into foul trouble because he's had to come out on the perimeter and guard.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Mobley averages about 3 a game, and then Allen's 2.3, which is fine. Not, and again, that's okay. That's not a lot. So, but you have to be careful
yeah,
about that, especially. Oh, by the way, the thing that they can benefit from is the playoffs, where we've already seen in the play-ins that and we've seen it all season long that they're letting a lot of contact go,
yeah.
and that'll certainly help guys like Allen and Mobley without question.
Physicality.
But they're going to
Yeah,
have to be careful because with a guy like Brunson, he can abuse Garland, and certainly can abuse Donovan Mitchell. So wait, is that yeah? So that's going to be an issue that they have to be careful. Wait, did I just get that all wrong? Wait, what are my matchups here? We're talking
yes.
about yeah,
Brunson,
the defense of
Spider.
the Cavaliers. Sorry. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, those guys can get abused, and that's a real problem for them. Brunson, it's funny in the video I made about the MVP stuff. I kind of made an argument. I don't know. I need to broadcast it like on Twitter because I kind of went under the radar. I would almost argue that that Brunson's footwork in the post is better than any of those guys who are the 7-footers who are going to be who play in the post like Jokic and whatever. We don't see guards at 6 feet tall, post up like that. And by the way, he'll do a post up like out of a drive, right? He'll get to a drive, he'll come to a jump stop, and now he's doing his pivots. So that's going to be a real problem for them, especially because it will suck Mobley over. It'll suck Jared Allen in. And, Mobley is
Yeah,
very good and he can block shots and he's long, but he's also sometimes positionally challenged and can get beat on cuts. And that's another issue there where Brunson's not an amazing guy with the cuts, but I also posted this on the video. The frequency of cuts and the percentage of the field goal percentage on cuts really went up a lot with Brunson in there. And you expect to see that because he gets to the lane so often, and I think that that's going to be an issue.
yeah.
I got to picture this. You know what? I forgot to look at the damn matchups in that game in January. Who guards Brunson? It's got to be Garland, right?
Okoro likes to go on to Brunson.
14 and
Did
10.
he not play? I'm actually, if I have the game in front of me, did he not play?
Mm.
Oh, you're right. Okoro did guard him. So that's what they're going to
Yeah,
do, and that's a smart thing. So here's what they have. They have Garland on Grimes, and then Mitchell is on Barrett.
Barrett.
Okay. By the way, that there might be some interesting developments with how they want to match up, which could affect the entire series. They might kind of get out of the, get a little creative here.
Yeah,
And then what's grabbing my mind right now is in the video I did on the Lakers and the Timberwolves, when they put slow-mo on AD, it changed the entire game for a big stretch. But then they went away from it. They went back to Cat on AD, and then they
yeah,
started scoring again. So you got to hope that like the coaching staffs here, if they can stumble upon those things, or not stumble, but certainly come up with an
yeah.
interesting couple of different matchups that work. Stay with it until it doesn't work. There's no sense in going back to what the traditional matchups dictate.
That's why there's so much resting on Okoro because they're saying the second option they're going to have Mobley switch on the pick and roll to guard Brunson, so
Mm-hmm.
that and then Randle and the other big Knicks big might be able to take advantage of Spider or the other guard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's my hint though. I wouldn't screen with Mobley's man.
yeah.
Right? Why would you?
Yeah,
Because that's a tall order
just
for
get a blow by.
Brunson. You would have who would you have come up? You'd have um, gosh, who would you want to attack on Cleveland's defense? You want to attack Donovan Mitchell. So whoever Donovan Mitchell's guarding, screen with him, make that switch. You know what I mean? Then
Yeah,
he can go to work, or Garland's man. So they should be that would be their response to that. And again, now how does Cleveland adjust? Obviously, what I would say was, okay, you can pre-switch that. So as Donovan Mitchell's
mm,
man's coming up to set the ball screen, he quickly scrams out of there, and Mobley or somebody else gets up there to handle the switch. I guess the other question then is if you want to try and drop and contain, that's kind of rough. I wouldn't want to give what's his Brunson that kind of runaway because he's an elite floater shooter.
he is. Yeah, definitely. Like you said it. I think RJ Barrett's going to be a big key attacking like a Spider Mitchell Garland. Someone from the Knicks is going to have to attack the penetration, the guards on the perimeter with Cleveland, and I think they're going to game plan to stop Brunson because he went off for 48 points, coach, and he's torch Spider in the playoffs last season. Talk to us a bit about, with the 5-6 day break and how Bickerstaff and then Thibs going to use this time to watch film and make those adjustments.
It's funny. I'm looking because you're talking about like, okay, what happens if they can stop the point of attack with Brunson? Barrett, to me, I know he got up to about 20 points a game. I just feel like he hasn't developed like I thought he would have coming out of his first year and into now, and so I'm just troubled, by how that's going to go, and I don't know if I expect him to do very well in the pressure of the playoffs in this series. And so the question, and I certainly wouldn't want to rely on him if they jam Brunson up with like a player and a half rotating over and they skip it. Now he has some space to work with. I wouldn't trust that. The guy that I would probably want to have doing that most would be like Quickly. So that will require Quickly and Brunson playing together. Now that's interesting because they could probably get away with that a little bit against Garland and Mitchell, right? Because they're not huge guards either. So at least height-wise, you can do that. I quickly grabbed the tab to see, Brunson and Quickly, did they play a lot together? Do you have a sense for that real quick? Oh, here it is.
Yeah, closing out a lot.
Yes. And the net rating was plus 8.5, which is good. And in terms of the most played two-man lineups, they're up there. So they definitely have a lot of run together, and that's going to be a quick thing. Like, for instance, I was going to do a preview video, which obviously we don't have time to do before the first game tomorrow. I would try and study those minutes and look at, okay, how is Brunson and how are Quickly operating together? But I can guarantee you a lot of it's going to be that way, where Brunson's going to take the brunt of the defense to start, and then Quickly will get some, weak side attacks. And that will, I will be willing to predict that that's going to be a thing that Cleveland will have to adjust to.
Yeah, I like what you said. Your weak side attacks, because they might try to trap Brunson. Having that secondary playmaker point guard like Quickly on the other side, who can do a little bit more with the ball than Grimes can, and also shoot just as well. And Quickly's a really underrated rebounder, coach. For 6'3", he's a pretty strong rebounder. He's got long arms. But what they usually do is Barrett and Grimes, I'm feeling like 50% of the time, won't close the games. It'll be Emmanuel Quickly and Josh Hart, who Tom Thibodeau absolutely loves. Hart at the 3, Quickly at the 2, with Randle and with Mitch or Hartenstein. I think we're going to see that closing lineup quite a lot. If Barrett's shooting inefficient, which he does, most of the time, he went 0 of 9 in his last game. I don't think Thibs is going to roll with that, closing the game out. Now, Grimes may have an excellent chance to finish the games out, but just the fact that he loves Quickly and Hart so much for pushing the break, that's going to be something to look.
Absolutely. In fact, I love Quentin Grimes. That's another revelation for them. He comes in here and starts all these games, shoots very well from 3, just a very steady guy, can play defense, and he's tall, right? Like, what's he listed at?
6'5".
Yeah, solid, like 6'5", and he's strong. So that's a really great. Like, he's a Thibs player, beyond. He's the quintessential Thibs player. But so is Josh Hart. I was actually surprised to see that he averaged 30 minutes a game coming in over the 25 games he made it in New York. That's a lot of minutes to bring somebody like that in and all of a sudden get a huge bump. I don't think Josh Hart has ever played close to 30 minutes a game. So we'll have to see how he reacts to that in the playoff series. But certainly, by the way, it's funny because I remember I had the last footage of Josh Hart in a Blazers uniform. I was in Portland. I was filming him warm up, and then literally he gets traded, and then in a shocking move. And we were looking at his jump shot form. It's not pretty at all. But they're going to leave him open, and if you leave a guy open, obviously that I'm sure the majority, if not almost all, the threes he took in New York were wide open, because they're thinking, let's leave him open, let's shut down Randle, let's contain Brunson, we'll leave him. And that might be a situation where they're going to have to adjust to that. But that said, with that kind of form that he shoots, and when the pressure of the playoffs come and all of a sudden there's just more intensity, that's when you start to think that guys who might shoot better in the regular season like that start to have some trouble. So keep your eye on that because it gets into his head perhaps, and then the next thing you know, he can't buy a bucket from behind there, and Cleveland can really ignore him. So I'd be keeping my eye out for that. I would say that it's more than a 50% chance that he's not going to. I can tell you right now, he ain't going to shoot 50% in that series.
I think.
But I have a feeling we're going to probably see him struggle a bit.
Yeah, we're expecting that because it was a huge start, a hot start, and then it's come back down. And like you said, exactly, all these shots are basically wide open. It's basically like the third, fourth skip pass or kick out. He gets the open shot, and he was shooting it well. But this is the playoffs. This is going to be something completely different. And I think you just basically spelled out what's going to turn this series is the shooting. Because if the Knicks don't shoot efficiently or well, how else can they score? Try to get to the cup. They're not going to call fouls so easily. Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley. I mean, if Julius Randle's getting hit, Barrett's getting hit, and they're not finishing, it might be tough. They might need to really shoot really well from three. I think Quentin Grimes, like you said, is a really big factor. He's shooting really well coming into this game one, and Emmanuel Quickly is shooting really well. Some close to plus 40% from deep.
You know, it's funny. Whenever I come on your show, I start getting into thinking of these crazy, like how crazy the lineups can we get with the Knicks? And so here's what I'm thinking. I'm calling it up right now to see if they even played it this way. Let's see if this works. So what if you had Brunson and Randle, obviously, and then you had Grimes and let's just say Josh Hart. Okay. Yep. Now, what if you went small? Like, I wonder if they're going to be able to go small against this bigger lineup, only because they're not going to really post up Jarrett Allen. And if they do, like, I would think the Knicks would say, please post up Jarrett Allen. And Mobley's offense, we can get to that in a second, is troubling for me. I don't care that he averages 60 points a game.
I'm looking forward to that.
So maybe we can even do something insane like quickly with that group. I'm just plugging it in here, and it has played no minutes. They have not done that lineup. Partly because Hart just got there the last 25 games, but I don't think anybody would have, would you want to go that small, right? Because you're talking about, I guess, basically Quentin Grimes having to play the 4, Randle the 5. And I know that's probably scary for everybody on the Knicks side, but then you have Hart and Quickly. But maybe they can find a minute or two, or maybe it's not Quickly, maybe it's somebody a little bit bigger. But I'm thinking, although what I like about that would be Quickly and Brunson together, Randle as that triumvirate, and then Grimes, and then I'm trying to think of who else you'd go who would small. Who am I missing that would be small in that lineup?
Well, you're sort of leaning towards Barrett or Hart at the 4 if Randle's.
I would prefer to see Hart instead of Barrett if you ask me. Now Barrett's a solid 6'7". Hart is what, like maybe 6'4"?
Yeah. Yeah. Generous.
He's not. Yeah, that's interesting.
But Thibs does love the big center, the rim protector. That's what we've seen basically all season. Given the fact that Randle's a bit gimpy, I would20 doubt we see that early in the series. But Obi Toppin, if he's going to be ready to go. If Randle's not, Obi will get 20 plus minutes in Randle's absence, because he did play that role late in the season and he's finished shooting pretty well. So I think it's going to come down to Obi's defense. If Obi's missing assignments and struggling, that's when he's going to lose his minutes.
Yeah. And by the way, there is, oh, no, never mind. It just refreshed. And I guess, hang on, let me do it again. I plugged in Obi Toppin instead of Hart. And it looked like for a second there was 335 minutes, but then it went blank. I don't know why. But nonetheless, there might be some evidence of Obi in a lineup with Brunson, Randle, Grimes, and Quickly. That is interesting to me, too. But again, I have a feeling Thibs might be too wary of going that small against that big lineup. And he might be right. But if you had, let's just say, a 12-point lead early in the middle of the second quarter, that's when you try it and see if you can get something out of that. And then maybe even the first game and you save it. So yeah, but if we want to talk just for a second about, it's funny. I got a lot of crap when I was on another podcast and I was asked about Evan Mobley versus James Wiseman, and I said some things. It was right when the year started, and I got roasted to no end for a few weeks about this because Wiseman, after the first 5 games, of which he looked terrific, for whatever reason, decided, the Warriors just kind of went away from him, and then the whole cloud was following him wherever he went until they traded him. And then Mobley was doing nicely, but like again, the point I was always trying to make about Mobley is that his offensive game is so unpolished. And for a guy at this point, and it's let me just say, it's his third year, right?
It's
Wait,
pretty unconventional still. Yeah.
it's his third year. He's only no, he's sorry, it's his second year, and he's 21, so he's young. But like it's just I'm frustrated as a coach when I'm watching him try and do stuff. And I listen, I'm all for letting guys experiment and figure out where they are. But footwork wise, touch wise, shooting, the majority of his shots are close in, set up by a drive and then a quick dish. There is a little bit of evidence you'd see a nice move here or there, but there's a lot of evidence of just really bad turnovers and really bad shots and really bad decisions. So I would think that he might end up being an X factor in a negative way for the Cavaliers because I think he could be a guy who might not do so well in this series and might ultimately maybe have his minutes curtailed a little bit, and that's going to affect this number one defense that they have out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we have a super chat from Buzzer Beater, who's actually a big fan of you and the work you do. Always, it's a pleasure to have you on. Buzzer says, Coach Nick, how are the Knicks a top offensive team, but a middle of the pack defensive team under Thibs?
It's a great question, and I mean, I think the reason why they're a top offensive team is because of Brunson. There's no question. I know there's a big roster overhaul, and they did change a number of things, but Randle and Barrett and Robinson, those are all guys who played a lot of minutes last year into this year. Thibs is the same, so it's not like there was a lot of difference besides Brunson. And we discussed a little bit of what he was getting. Right, he gets his mid-range game, his in the lane game with the floaters is terrific and really a big jump up for them. So I think that's pretty clear why. Now that said. He only played the 62 games, so that's a kind of a big chunk to not be in the games and still have a better offense like they have. And I would credit it to what you said with Quickly developing more and more and becoming more the guy who I always thought he was. I think we probably talked about Quickly like a year ago, 2 years ago, and I was really high on him. So that's another big thing. So obviously the guards and Thibs offenses tend to like in that D'Antoni way, right? Yeah. Often, although. I kind of want to say maybe like in Minnesota it didn't play out that way as much, but here we're seeing the same kind of thing where there's a juice to them that they get from the offense. Now defensively, obviously because of Brunson, there are going to be issues there because he isn't really a very good defender. He certainly makes up for it on the offensive end, so he's definitely a plus, on across the board there. So that hurts them. I need to kind of almost do a deeper dive, but give me some thoughts about what you have about the Knicks defense and why they're average.
Yeah, it's definitely attached to the team's ability to get open shots against the New York Knicks. Tom Thibodeau grinds his players, right? Heavy minutes, and certain nights the schedule wasn't kind. The New York Knicks and closing out. Some nights they were hot, some nights they were great on the closeout, and sometimes the opposing teams we saw insane numbers. Like Kevin Love, like I said, shot 8 threes one night. We saw players like this is Lamar Stevens, I think from Cleveland, had an excellent shooting night. We just see these talented but random players just have career nights against the New York Knicks, and it's generally because they just get wide open looks. Coach. And then I think the scouting report on the Knicks says move the ball around. Like if you get the Knicks scrambling and just move it around, Randle's second and third efforts aren't always great. If you've had to make a couple of different rotations, he'll generally die on the second or third rotation. So I think that's what got to the Knicks, and then the fact that they were putting so much effort into offense, they were isolation heavy. Jalen, Brunson, Julius Randle had to use up like 18 seconds of a shot clock most of the time to get a ridiculous contested make.
Yeah, and there's no question going through Brunson footage, you saw a lot of very tough shots, and that gives you pause for when you get to the playoffs. So absolutely, all of that stuff, and that makes you tired. That can really wear you down when you're taking a lot of really tough shots. Even when you make them, the jolt of energy goes away quickly because now all of a sudden you got to defend. So that's going to be another issue there too, which is funny because we'll see the Cavaliers offense is where are they rated right now? They're number one on defense and eighth.
Offense, they're like 19.
I don't think I realized they were that high.
8th, are they? Okay.
Yeah, and there's some good
Okay.
comments here. Let me just say, I keep my eye on from Joseph Marmorstein, which is
Yep.
spot on all this stuff. And he was actually questioning why if I gave Brunson some love for the MVP, why wouldn't I have done Donovan Mitchell, who has some better numbers?
Mm.
I mean, I think what I was enamored with was the fact that Brunson comes in and sort of changes a lot of things. Whereas we've seen Mitchell in Cleveland, we've seen this team together. They've been building this. This wasn't like a surprise per se, and I think Mitchell has gotten. He gets his due hype, right? I mean, I think everyone really loves him. I've done videos on him too, so that's probably part of it. At some point I can't include everybody in the video. It was already 14 minutes
Yeah.
long, some crazy
Yeah.
like that. But he also doesn't think that Evan Mobley will have problems offensively. Now, obviously, when you go up against a 17th or 8th, what are they? What are the Knicks? 18th ranked in defense? No, what did I say?
Yep. 18. Yep.
Yeah, there they are. No, 19th. So it's an easy prediction to say, oh yeah, then everyone's going to probably do well, right? And like they're going to probably have no problem scoring. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen Mobley enough. I might not have watched. He said talking about the second half of the season. I'm not sure. I don't know how many games of Cleveland I watched the last 20 games of theirs. But it came up again watching the game against them versus the Knicks in January, where it's the same stuff I'm seeing that was frustrating. Happy feet around there. I don't know. I guess I got to watch more of his assists because I can't in my mind's eye picture Mobley like making really nice passes. Can you picture that? Am I missing that?
No, generally, I think, Donovan Mitchell, again, he's isolation pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Garland, I don't really, haven't noticed the Cleveland big men make a lot of plays. He generally does try to, take a difficult maneuver or shot in a, usually he's probably late in the shot clock as well. You got to think, do they really run the offense through that? No, I think they run their offense through the guard play.
Right. I mean, like, okay, like, I'm sure he can do a short roll, maybe make a pass. I'm actually calling him up right now, just kind of as we're speaking, because I'm now fascinated by that, only because, trying to watch the entire NBA all season long is a very difficult proposition. And anybody who tells you that they do, I kind of wouldn't really believe them. I know I've heard people say, oh, I've watched every minute and every possession of every NBA game. If you actually add up the amount of time that would take, like, you wouldn't sleep, you wouldn't eat. I don't know.
And that's what frustrates some Knicks fans, coach, about national media's analysis of the Knicks. They sometimes watch the TNT games. That's it.
Yeah.
If you watch the Knicks games all the time, you'll really get that gauge. On how the Knicks play. Obi Toppin, that dynamic. The sixth man of the year conversation going on right now with Emmanuel Quickley. If you didn't really watch Emmanuel Quickley's last third of the season, a lot of people are thinking like, what are the Knicks fans talking about? Emmanuel Quickley. I saw people put Powell ahead of Quickley. Powell.
Yeah, I mean Norman Powell had some good games too, but I hear you. I don't think I would do that. That's interesting, but yeah, I would probably put Quickly ahead of that too. By the way, I'm looking at some of these assists that Mobley has made in the last, over the last, few games. But okay, he gets an assist after completely losing the dribble and ends up on the ground, which is another one of those. It's like I keep seeing this kind of stuff. It drives me nuts. But yeah, I mean, listen, there's evidence where you see him. There's a little bit of a nice vision, maybe driving to the basket, but most of it looks like short roll and this quick bit dump down for the dunk, or like handoffs where the guards do all the work and give him the assist. So I don't think we're going to see too much of that, but again, we'll see. But and you make a good point about the people basing things on just like the national games, for instance. I mean, unfortunately, that's how these awards are done too, right? And it's tough because it's hard to watch all the games.
It is, yeah. And Buzzer also follows up with another super chat. Appreciate you. We can overhelp on D and can't stop dribble penetration. Yep. We also overhelp. That's another thing.
I wrote that down.
Tom Thibodeau's scheme, coach, is to clog the paint, and then also two players will rotate, and then overhelp, leave someone wide open for the kick out. Like I said, Kevin Love getting 8 threes. I think it was a year ago, Ricky Rubio had his career high, shot 9 threes on the New York Knicks at MSG. So players get hot at MSG not only because of that, but because they like to get up for the big game. But yeah, with Coach Thibodeau against Bickerstaff, a little bit of inexperience versus experience. Um, in terms of scheming, I think Tom Thibodeau is going to be, favoured in that department. But can he make adjustments along the season? He hasn't had a great track record in the playoffs, Coach.
Right. Adjustments aren't great, and then even just getting out of the box a little bit to be creative with stuff is not always. It doesn't always come up, and that's a thing. I suppose he's like, we have a system, we know that it works, we just have to execute it, and that's great until it's not, and then you have to do something else. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. It's funny. I wrote overhelping by Cleveland was what I was seeing. That leaves them susceptible to kickouts and after drives as well. So we'll watch for that for the Knicks side too, being able to create those. But when you have a coach who's like overbearing perhaps on help and rotation defense, sometimes you're not surprised that two guys will go instead of one because that's all they've been trained and yelling at the whole time. It's almost like you want worse defense, right? You only want one guy to help or rotate over, not two. And that is an issue that you see across the board. Every team does that because, again, all these coaches are yelling about rotations and everyone's trying to help, and it's nice. But yeah, once you get two guys helping with the ball in the lane, forget about it. Everybody in the NBA now is good enough to find a kick out for an open three, and everybody in the NBA now can hit the open three, and that's going to lead to a lot of problems. On all things. I mean, I could picture the Lakers doing it all over the place too. And there's actually some people who, defensively as a concept, have certain positions in like the corner guy in the corners come way too far over to help as part of their game plan. And it's such an easy pass to skip to the corner for like the shot everybody wants. So that's another one of those things where you got to keep your eye on it about how they're going to do that and will they adjust and not over rotate.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a series of adjustments. That's what I feel. A lot of people think 6-7, like we've been saying, and yourself seems to agree. Can we force you into a prediction?
Oh, for the whole series?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of quickly looking. The Knicks, by the way, offensive rebounding percentage, they're second in the league, and that's interesting. Which will put some interesting pressure on Allen and Mobley, who you would think maybe would be able to handle that a little bit, but that'll be interesting. Now, as a prediction, I mean, I guess like from the beginning of the conversation, we were talking about it'll be a long series. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 7. Now, the problem is if it goes 7, then you have to choose the Cavaliers because they're home. I mean, I think the home team wins Game 7 80% of the time. So you'd be kind of foolish to say, not. Now, again, injuries is going to be an interesting thing too about Randle. And if Randle is really struggling, that's going to be they're not going to be able to win the series. There's no question. And if he can't get that healthier, if he is 60% or 70% even, they can't win. I don't think they need him better. They need him 80, 90%. So if you factor all these things in with the home court advantage, I probably, I would love to say, hey, I love the Knicks the way they match up, but I don't know. I think that ultimately, if you're going to look at the defenses as well, I feel like the Knicks are going to struggle more to contain what the Cleveland Cavaliers have, and I think ultimately that will probably give them the victory. Maybe I'll just say in 6. I'll just say Cavs in 6. I'm sorry, Knicks fans, but I kind of feel like that's sort of, you watch enough of these games over enough years, over enough a lifetime, you kind of that's what I'm feeling. But we'll see.
No, that's a justifiable, better seed. That's what the general media went with. I think the consensus, Cavs in 6.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're saying the Knicks still have a chance to win this series. But do you think their best chance is in 6? Obviously, Game 7, like you said, is going to be tough.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I know, but when you got Brunson, man, and he's a gamer, I could see Randle struggling under the weight of a Game 7 and not performing well. I could certainly see Barrett struggling on their weight and not giving them what they need to get a Game 7 win on the road. But Brunson's the guy that is going to lead the team, and that's a big X factor that's changed from last year. So, I would probably, if it got to Game 7, now that I'm thinking about it in that context, you probably would have to say that they have an even chance to win that game. But you're right. I mean, like if they're really going to do it, they got to steal Game 1, probably shock them with Game 1, then they lose Game 2, and then then they have 3 and 4 at home with MSG crowd, which is a really great crowd. Probably not underrated because everyone knows how great it is to play in Madison Square Garden, but
it's going to be higher. Yep.
Yeah, that would be the big pressure, man. Like, let's just pretend they win game three. So it's like game four, they're up 2-1. That's the series, right? Because if they let him
Mm.
tie it up, going back to game five in Cleveland, that's gonna be it. So it's almost like, that game four is gonna be huge. Maybe Randle will be 100% by then because of the ankle, because that's gonna be several days from now. So that's really gonna be it. You're gonna put all of your eggs in your entire season in that game four basket.
Yep. Well, yeah, it could go flip of a coin, really. A lot of people saying it's going to be a lot of surprises, I think, as well. Maybe some unexpected guys step up and some guys we expected to be great, not so great. Because, yeah,
Mhm.
there's inexperience on both sides, if I'm keeping it honest. In terms
Yeah.
of playoff experience, we never really know. But
Yeah.
Coach, it's been amazing, yeah, having you on to talk about this series. And as we go along, we'll keep in touch.
For sure, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on and letting me voice some opinions on this thing. We'll see if I'm anywhere close to being
Mm.
right on these, but I think at the very least we're going to have a really good series. It's going to be pretty close to being evenly matched, and it's going to come down to maybe some rando who goes off in one of these games. We're not Josh Hart, hitting 6 threes, and
Mm.
in that game four in Madison Square Garden. That might be it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the X factor with Toppin potentially filling in for Randle and Grimes' first playoff
Uh,
series,
yeah.
and also on the Cavs side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Grimes is he played multiple years in college, right?
Yep,
Where is that?
he did. Yeah.
How many?
Kansas and then Houston.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking at Grimes' college real quick before we get out of here. Where is his
Mm.
college? Oh boy, here he goes. Yeah, he played 3 years. Oh, that's just say Kansas and Houston. Yeah, so that's another big thing, right? So even though he's a rookie, he really wasn't a rookie when he came in, and when he comes in here, and that kind of polishing probably indicates to me, in theory, that he wouldn't shrink in the playoffs.
In the moment. Yeah, that's a big factor in this is RJ Barrett is and Randall's health, and of course Cleveland. There is some pressure on Cleveland, but yeah, Coach, be well.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, will do. Thanks, Coach. Again, Coach Nick, B-Ball Breakdown. We'll continue this conversation with the chat. We got a Cavs fan, Joseph, here, Dirty Dancer, out here. Playoff basketball is here. I'm excited, and it was great to have Coach Nick on to talk about it. Talk to me, chat. Anything you want to speak on. We saw the NBA release some of the finalists, nominations for some of these awards. I want to acknowledge those, and also heading into this game one and the talking points. Let's give Jalen Brunson again some more flowers for the season he's had, and it's just been excellent to see the NBA acknowledge that as a finalist, along with SGA and the favorite Lowry Markkanen, who I probably expect to win that award. He's had an outstanding season. He's probably improved more. I'm not saying he's a better player than the other two, no way, but he's probably improved more from where he was and you know the potential he had. I think he's got close to achieving that potential. But then on the other side, keeping my Knicks hat on, Jalen Brunson has improved so much to the point where people just thought he was maybe above average role player, and above a below average starting point guard. So now the fact that he's talked about as all NBA and a snubbed All Star, who was deserving of that. And if the Knicks win this series, I mean Jalen Brunson, it's hard to envision the Knicks even winning this series without Jalen Brunson having an excellent series. Because if you ask 10 Knicks fans, you're probably going to get majority that Jalen Brunson's the player they trust the most on this roster. And if the player they trust the most shows up, then that's going to yeah, reiterate that the Knicks have a great chance, of winning this game. And talk about like Coach and I were talking about the Knicks not having home advantage, Cleveland with home court. We all know playoff basketball on the road is going to be tough. You need the experience, you need the measure, composure, and smarts, IQ of a player like Jalen Brunson to calm everybody down, stop a run, get a bucket when you need it. Spider goes for 8 straight buckets. Jalen Brunson can kind of stop that flow. So let's hit on some of the comments. Joseph's a Cavs fan. Appreciate you coming through. Uh, Let us know how long you've been a Cavs fan. Um, Joseph says definitely good to get some playoff experience and also see how the role players can perform where we need to make moves in the off season potentially. Yeah, I think the Cavs have maybe not as much room to improve, but they still have a solid core, and they have a great timeline as well still. So, while there's time, there's ability to improve over that course. Dirty says the pressure is there for the Cavs because of the impending free agency of Spider, no doubt. Losing is a really bad look for that. I think they could afford maybe one first, second round exit and Spider still be invested because they do have a solid core. Um, but we just never know about the lure of coming back to New York or maybe even another team. I think Spider Mitchell's entering his prime, and I think he wants to win, like you said, and I think winning is the biggest factor in this. Uh, you feel like the Knicks have kind of a built-in excuse because of the Randle's injury. Yeah, it can still make an all-in move at any point. I agree 100% with that. Having said that, though, it would be a failure in a lot of fans' eyes for the New York Knicks to flame out still, given what they've accomplished this season and what they've built, to get to where they're at. They feel like this series is winnable, and I really feel like it's winnable, but it's going to come down to maybe a flip of the coin, game 6 execution, game 7 possibly. Really, I think these two teams are so evenly matched. Really, really feel like you could make a case for either being a slight favorite or both of them just being even even betting odds. Um, and I can understand Cleveland being the favorite with the home court and just being the more consistent team over the 82. Dirty says I don't like that most improved has just become the first time All Star award. Yeah, I don't think really Shea should be there. As coach was saying to me off air, he doesn't really feel like Shea should even be in that conversation. Um, in terms of what this series means for both organizations, it's huge. Both have improved significantly in just 1 year. Cleveland obviously made that huge move and got the 4th seed. The New York Knicks have sort of climbed their way up the ladder throughout the season, made that move for Hart, which got us there. Julius Randle's renaissance and Jalen Brunson just capping that off. But we cannot forget this man, Emmanuel Quickly, also announced as a finalist. Internal development and improvement from this team has been a big reason because Emmanuel Quickly's emergence as a 6-man of the year candidate and also starting throughout the season for like 20, 22, 21 games, I believe. And producing, like I mentioned, 20 points per game in the last 10 games compared to his 14 points over the season. Now, in his 3rd year, Emmanuel Quickly has shown that he's a starting caliber guard. Kentucky, he's got that DNA, big shot maker. But for me, the intangibles have been the most pleasing. Quickly's ability to defend, be an excellent defender, strong, his ability to retain his dribble, tighten his handle, was something that I questioned whether or not Quickly could get to that level. He's keeping his dribble alive, probing, and what's been super impressive is the decision making. Emmanuel Quickly's shot selection was suspect in his first 2 years. He's kind of kept that under control now, and he's definitely shown he can be a point guard. Um, I mean, really, ideally, he's just that combo guard. He could play either side. Um, Man, I would love for Emmanuel Quickly to be 6'4", 6'5". If he was Quentin Grimes' height, all-star, all-star, all-star. But having said that, Emmanuel Quickly can still get there. And I think this is going to be a huge series. If you saw my video about my reasons for the Knicks to get an edge in this series, it's because one of Emmanuel Quickly and Mitchell Robinson. Um, when push comes to shove, I don't know if the Cavs, let's say everyone on the Cavs starting unit is just balling out to their max capacity, then the bench comes in. The Knicks may have that another gear or play that they can sustain because Emmanuel Quickly comes in, where sometimes the Cleveland's play, their bench might fall off. And they may need to keep Garland or a Spider on the court at all times to counter that. That's going to be interesting. If Ricky Rubio, Karis LeVert have an excellent series, it's going to be tough for the New York Knicks because I think the Cleveland just really need productive play off the bench. I think the starters on each night can cancel each other out. Really, the score could be quite even or back and forth. Game 1, game 2, game 3, whoever is hot. But the consistency of the New York Knicks bench throughout this season has allowed them to get to where they're at. Finishing hot in the second part of the season and having that ability to bring productive guys off the bench. Isaiah Hartenstein, Deuce McBride plays his role. Obi Toppin can shoot. Yes, he's not well-rounded with the defense, but he can come in. You know what you're going to get from him. And I think Cleveland's bench has sort of been just that up and down situation. So, yeah, Emmanuel Quickley is a huge talking point for me. Now, Julius Randle, we heard an update from the one, the only, Adrian Woj, about Julius Randle now targeting game 1. And the Knicks PR staff have officially announced him as questionable. So not probable, not doubtful, but questionable, which to me indicates he's at least 50-50. They're going to leave it all the way up to the tip-off. Best believe that. I don't think they're going to announce anything right up until the start of the game. And why? Well, I don't need to explain why. It suits both teams, really. You keep the Cleveland Cavaliers guessing, and you also may not even know yourself if you're the Knicks. You don't know how the ankle's going to feel warming up, putting more weight. Now, Randle hasn't been taking any contact yet, but what are we, 24 hours away, less than 24 hours away from the game? Now, he could easily, they may, just not be covering and reporting the activities that Randle is doing, but I do feel like there's maybe a 50-50, more than 50-50 chance that Juju Randle is going to play. Now, it might even be limited minutes off the bench. Who knows? It might be a surprise. But I think, like Dirty's been saying for a while now, the stakes are so high. And sometimes a player like Julius Randle, if you're 60, 70, 80%, sometimes that's just enough to say, hey, get me out there, coach, put me in. This is what we played 82 for, ladies and gentlemen. If you're Randle, you could say to Thibs, this is what I endured to get to this stage, man. Put me in. I'm good for 25 minutes. Put me in. Even if I can't run the floor as great as I am, I'll slow plod. I'll do what I need to do to give you 20, 25 minutes and try to get Mobley in foul trouble, because that's a big factor. Julius, we know a lot of his game is shooting as well. A lot of points Randle put up wasn't bullying to the cup. It was really top of the key, elbow, the defender sags off, and Randle just swishes it as well. So Randle's game's different now. He's a jump shooting power forward, really, with the ability to bully his way to the cup, 50-50 kind of thing. So, even if Randle's ankle's gimpy, he could certainly still put up 15 to 20 points in his sleep, purely for the fact that he can shoot quite well. Dirty hits on the chemistry this season as well. Late in the season, it's been key. Definitely these days off, I think Dirty, I'm starting to feel like it's going to be more productive for the New York Knicks, planning, bonding like you're on the road, spending time together, all of those things like you point out. The chemistry as a group, but I am very biased there as well. Yeah, we all got our Knicks cap on for what we see because, we watch the team 82 games per season and then some preseason, summer league. It's a long season for us, man. Yeah, salute to everyone out here following the team through the ups, through the downs as well. I mean, there's been a lot of downs this season. Let's not forget where we've come from. There was a point where Tom Thibodeau was basically on the verge of getting fired in the beginning of the year. The preseason was a bit iffy. I think a lot of people The preseason got people worried. 4 games, it didn't look too great. Brunson looked good from the get-go, but it's definitely been a lot of ups and downs. But I think over the course of the year, Grimes' growth, Quickly's growth, Julius Randle's just gotten better, and Jalen Brunson has gotten better as the season's gone along. Isaiah Hartenstein has certainly gotten better. Mitchell Robinson has really, really impressed me on the court this season. There's been some typical stuff off the court, but on the court, Mitch's game has done the talking. I think Mitch's play, staying out of foul trouble, would really impress me in this series. Just not leaving his feet, like Clyde says, you can block shots without jumping. And if Mitch can stay out of foul trouble, that's going to be a big factor as well, going up against the big men because of the rebounding. The rebounding is going to be huge. Mitchell Robinson plucked in 14 offensive rebounds, I think, in the final game. And if you don't put a body on him, man, you're going to pay the price, because the New York Knicks will get more possessions than Cleveland. To answer Buzzer's question earlier as well, why is the New York Knicks offense good? It's not because we shoot a great efficiency percentage. It's because we get more possessions, fam. We don't turn the ball over as much, and we get more second chance points. And it's not just Mitch; it's the guards that rebound really well. Josh Hart makes sure he's always he makes sure that the opponent needs to put a body on him, but he makes sure that he always boxes out as well. So fundamentals is going to be key in the playoffs, And like in the words of EJ, if the Knicks lose this series, it might be because they lost it rather than Cleveland winning it. I think the Knicks have the horses to win this series, but do we just play fundamental basketball, stay out of our own way, don't commit crazy fouls, don't throw the ball away, don't take ill-advised shots, just play 3 quarters, make sure you're in the game, and then try to execute, I think, in the fourth quarter as well, as the pressure will mount on the home team. I think that's my tip to winning on the road, is just don't do nothing crazy, stay in the game, even if you're 5, 8 points down, right, on the road. I think the Knicks can still pull it out, but you've got to keep your head in the game. Don't take bad shots, don't get in foul trouble, don't get crazy texts or anything like that. Don't be arguing with the refs too long, just to make a point. Let the coaches talk about the officiating and the pressers, to try and adjust the whistle for game 2. But while the ball's in bounds, you need to be focused, man. You 100% need to be focused. Um, yeah, the reliance, Cleveland have on a group of dudes like the starting unit is huge. I'm thinking dirty. I think we might see some Danny Green in this series if the Cavs bench just struggles so much. He scored 21 points late in the season. He's playoff tested, and I think they might be searching for answers if the Cavs bench doesn't turn up. With that, we have a much deeper rotation, 100% as well. Deuce McBride can come in, play the role. Jericho Sims, all of that. To be honest, if Randle's not playing in game 1, I would try to get as many players' feet wet as possible, because I think that's going to help them get the nerves out as the season goes along, fam. So basically what I'm trying to say, in other words, if you're going to go down in game 1, that's fine. It's only game 1, but try to make the most of it and clear, let's say we're down late, clear the bench, get some guys in, get some guys' feet wet. And I think that's going to give them a bit more confidence going into game 2 on the road with the crazy crowd and all of those things buzzing right now. But based off today's news, chat, Cavs, Joseph, Dirty, anyone, let me know how you're feeling about Randle's chances for game 1. What are you thinking? Are you leaning towards one or the other, or do you think it's still 50-50? It looks like there's all intentions he plans to play. It's just going to be, by tip-off, does he feel okay? But the intention seems to be there for him to give it a go, I think. So yeah, you feel like the Cavs have the best player in the series, and usually that's enough to win the series. It definitely is usually. I think maybe the Knicks' depth, though, man, we can go at the Cavs in waves. I feel, but it's definitely a great point you made. I think as we look at the schedule as well, that's going to play a big factor, fam, because there is yeah, a lot of breaks in between the series, and that's going to be great for adjustments, players, resting, all of that. Let's say they pick up a little nagging injury. I think the New York Knicks' depth is what's going to help us win. Um, Also, great stat to point out is winning game one would definitely change the whole momentum of the series. Then the Knicks really playing with house money in game two, knowing that you're going back to MSG, back to your home cooking, and you said 78% of the time the first game winner wins the series as well. Um, I could see that most of the time. Something just tells me about this series being quite different. It's going to be funky. I think both teams closing it out, you know, I think it's going to be funky. I really do. I could even see the Knicks winning it in seven against coaches' thoughts because, you know, looking head to head, I'm a firm believer of judging the sample size this season, and we know the Cavs only beat the Knicks once, so it's a different proposition in the playoffs. But if you're looking at it like I can't see the Cavs winning 4 games out of 7 based off the fact that they've only beaten the Knicks once. I think psychologically pressure is going to mount, and if they're not starting out really hot, then I favor the Knicks. Now, if the Cavs come out in game one and just look like a well-oiled machine and they look like a completely juiced up team that's gone to the next level, then I'll say after game one, I'll say, okay, I'm worried now, and I really think that the Cavs are a different team. But just based off what I've seen this season, I have a hard time seeing. Not saying it won't happen or it can't happen, but I have a hard time seeing the Cavs beat the Knicks 4 times out of 7 with the defense, the offense, the adjustments that Tom Thibodeau can make, and the versatility we have. And I do think Cleveland's mental is going to be tested in this series just as much as the New York Knicks, playing with the underdog tag. Um, Yet looking at the Cavs bench, Jetty Osman, Dean Wade are going to be huge. Like I mentioned, if they're not producing, we could expect to maybe see some Danny Green, um, or some stagger of the lineups, some Cleveland starters maybe playing extra minutes. And if I'm the Cavs, really, my game plan is to come out as hot as possible and just make sure I win games 1 and 2. Because as the series goes along, I think it plays more favor as the New York Knicks and our depth, more bodies. We could shuffle more minutes and all of that. And like we said, fam, if the Cleveland Cavaliers bench isn't producing, it's going to be a long series for them. So they better win game one and game two. Otherwise, it's going to be more in the favor of the Knicks, I think, as the series goes along. Now, of course, Julius Randle's health is super key. With that noted, you know, and I like the idea that there is a big break between game one, game two. Let's say Randle feels like he's close, but just can't go late in the piece. That's okay. Just pull the pin. Play Obi, play Randle, and play Barrett and Hart at the 4 a lot, and let's just get up and down as fast as we can, just for one game. Now you have to think they're juiced up, ladies and gents. There's been 6-day break. I'm ready to go right now, and I think this team should be right. Jalen Brunson really hasn't played a full game in almost a month, so it's quite crazy to think we should be. In fact, we were probably too rested from that regard as well. We've got to get into our rhythm, get into the flow. Yep. Yeah, man. Great. Based on previous history, if questionable with the Knicks, it means you're playing on the injury report. Yeah. Like I said, yeah, they're not doubtful, not probable, but questionable. Yeah. That's playing it safe. spot on. Yeah, talking to Cavs people, the Cavs do uh, get a bit nervy late in the games. Their execution is suspect at times as well. But having said that, the New York Knicks can also get in their own way sometimes, man. Isolation heavy. Um, One thing is I don't want to wear Jalen Brunson down. Like I know how important, Brunson is to this series. Make no mistake. But playing 39, 42 minutes early, if he picks up a slight injury, that could be the series. So, I mean, early on, play Brunson is 35, 33 minutes. See how it's going. Keep him fresh for late in the game because, we do have Quickly. Emmanuel Quickly's out here and he's hot and he's ready. And I do think that it's going to be key to keep Brunson fresh. Remember the hand, he's had the ankle throughout the season. Um, players do sometimes pick up injuries if, they haven't been playing much, you know. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting for that. Now, what I'm most fascinated to look at is the officiating. How is this series going to be called? How is the whistle going to go? Is it going to change game to game? Are they going to set a precedent based off what we're seeing in the play-in? Um, Now, this series, I think it's going to be entertaining, and I think the NBA would love this series to go 7. I think most neutralists would. But having said that, if it's called really, really tight, we're not going to see the free-flowing offense that both teams can get hot with. And if it's called really, really loose, it's going to be grinded out. It's going to be hits, bruises, all of that, tempers flaring, and all of that said. Um, I like our big man rotation, really. I think the rebounding for the New York Knicks is our clear edge. Even you put Jericho Sims in for just 10 minutes, can pull in 9 rebounds as well. He's that good. Isaiah Hartenstein's rebounding is not that great, but he's improved with his play, his pick and roll defense, and his lateral movement. He's definitely looking fresh. And of course, Mitchell Robinson, you know how I feel about him. Um, with that said, his rebounding is going to be the number one X factor in this series because the Knicks have too many horses to be getting second chance points again and again. Um, we don't shoot efficiently. Let me clarify that again. We don't really shoot efficiently. But if you give RJ Barrett enough attempts, he's going to put up the points. Like we already know, man. He almost averaged 20 points per game, and he's not even efficient because he gets attempts. Um, Now we know Julius Randle's going to get a lot of shots up if he's healthy. He's going to shoot the 3 ball. I think he's going to let it fly. And I'm expecting Randle to average at least 8 threes per game, at least. Maybe Brunson 5 or 6 threes a game. I hope Quentin Grimes averages 8 threes per game, at least. I think Emmanuel Quickly is probably going to average 6 to 7 threes per game attempts as well. We might even see Hart swish a few, like Coach says. If he's left open, that's going to be a big factor. Um, Now, the Knicks plan to contain the Cleveland Cavaliers. That is huge. There's only so many guards that can put up points for them, and we know the two, Garland and Spider. Dirty says the nice thing is the Knicks have 3 good defenders to try out on Donovan. A lot of looks to give him. Yep. I'm more inclined to just not play him that tight early, fam. Let him go off a little bit as well. Because remember, you don't want to get into foul trouble as well. But if Donovan's, I'm going to say hogging up the offense a lot, it's freezing other people out. And Cleveland don't have a whole lot of offensive options to begin with. So if you're letting Donovan dominate the offense, get shots up, I can ride or die with that over 7 games because I think there's going to be nights where he's not going to be that efficient as well. And if it's a one-trick pony, then the New York Knicks are in with a chance, move them around. And of course, capitalize on Spider on defense, make him work. Now, how are you feeling about Garland? Because for me, what I've seen this season, he's been up and he's been down against the Knicks. Not saying he's not been great against any other team. I've only watched him against the New York Knicks, and I think he can be a little bit erratic as well. Like you said, we've got the horses with Hart, with Grimes. You can throw Barrett's length. For a short while, if he's getting abused, then you pull a pin. You have Deuce, you have Quickly, and of course Brunson as well. Brunson, is going to give you effort, um, but you don't want him using up too much energy either. So I expect Brunson to save a lot of that for the offense. Let Grimes, let Hart, and let Quickly do a lot of the defending on that. Um, if Thibs does shorten the rotation a little, even if he shortens some minutes, best believe that Emmanuel Quickly is going to be the number one candidate to get big minutes. I'm talking 33, 35 minutes, even playing off the bench, because I think Emmanuel Quickly is going to get big minutes, right, in this series because he can defend and he's great rebounding and he's great at offense as well. A very, very well-rounded player. We know with Josh Hart, sometimes when he plays 30 plus minutes, there are games when it hurts you offensively. Let's keep it real. In fact, even defensively, he's not always great. He's good, but he's not always great defensively. But offensively, he can struggle sometimes. So I expect Quickly to get more minutes, the bulk of the minutes off the bench. Now Quentin Grimes, huge X factor. If he's obviously going to start, but if Q Dot is hitting shots and he's also keeping up with the guards and defending well, not getting blown by, Quentin Grimes is definitely going to see 33 minutes plus per night, especially if the three ball's out there. That's dangerous. With the starting unit, that's key, really. Let's keep it a buck. We know Randle, we know Brunson are going to isolate a lot. And to have a guy like Quentin Grimes there for the shot, the catch and shoot, is going to stretch the Cleveland defense out enormously as well. Uh, Not to mention if RJ Bully Barrett can shoot 40%, 32%, it just depends, how it goes, how he's going in the game will dictate his minutes, I think. It's all in front of RJ, really. He could be the hero for this series, or he could be the villain. With that said, man, a lot of options, and even if it's not going well for anyone else, like next man up. I think that's been the mantra of the New York Knicks this season. There's been little interruptions, but it's always been next man up. Remember, we forget Mitch missed almost like a month, or maybe even more, and we're crying out for Serge Ibaka, Dwight Howard from Taiwan, and Isaiah Hartenstein raised his game. Brunson went down. People were worried. Emmanuel Quickly raised his game. Right, there were times when we were struggling. Quentin Grimes raised his game throughout the season. Let's not forget Deuce McBride came in this season and helped almost rescue the season. Yet people forget about Deuce McBride raised his game. So it's going to be big. I'm excited to see these young Knicks in the playoffs and see, just them grow. They're going to learn from this experience. Being the fifth seed, playing the fourth seed, man. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And I really am going to predict a Knicks victory in game one. I really am. But I'm going to back it up by saying they lose game two. I think that the Knicks' best chance at stealing or winning one out of the first two is going to be the first game. And that's with Julius or no Julius. I think it doesn't matter. I think like all bets are off in game one. I think that's the game you come close or you steal. And I think it decided the series with Atlanta, 2 years ago. It came down to the final possession, but they had a Trae Young, who could isolate. And we had, barely any offense, man. Um, yeah. So yeah, the pressure on Cleveland in game one. Obviously, the crowd's going to be fired up there. Players are going to be edgy. They're going to be nervy as well. And I think who holds their nerve is going to be big, and who can execute in game one. Dirty says RJ has to make life miserable for D Mitch. be super physical, driving to wear him out. Yeah, you mentioned that coach raised the point at we shouldn't be attacking Evan Mobley on the pick and roll, right? Whoever is the ball handler, right? Whoever is on, whoever's been guarded by Spider should be the one setting the pick, right? Get Donovan Mitchell, get him working as much as possible. Like you said, be super physical. And if they're trying to hide him on RJ, then man, RJ becomes an even bigger X factor getting to the cup. And, we know Mitchell's not going to want to pick up early fouls. No, no, no. Like, he doesn't want to leave the floor. Cleveland don't want that. So, what does that mean? Get to work, man. Put up points and get to the cup against Mitchell. And, yeah, Barrett's length, all of that. Obviously, you got to be smart, though, man. The trees are waiting for RJ Barrett as he gets closer to the cup. But that's where the kickouts there, man. Tom Thibodeau, read and react. Like he says, don't premeditate what you're going to do. Let the defense dictate what you're going to do, man. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think RJ really can be the hero for this series. I think let's not underestimate his experience. For his numbers and his up and down play, I want to highlight RJ's experience, which is why I would not be shocked if he looks one of the more calmer players on the floor in this series. We don't really know how Quentin Grimes is going to handle the event, I'm going to call it. But RJ's been to the playoffs. This is his 4th year. He has that mentality where if he stinks it up, he still feels like we know he's going to put the shot up. He's going to dominate the ball still. He's not going to be phased. So that can work for you and can work against you sometimes. Sometimes you need to pull the pin if he's just wilding out. But sometimes he's just going to get to work and he's going to be nice, getting to the cup, getting a few and ones, and getting the Cleveland defense in trouble, collapsing as well. So yeah, I like the fact you're highlighting RJ as well because yeah, he's critical with this situation. Low volume, don't want him playing hero ball, 100%. Yep, like we just touched on. And early on, take those open shots. Like you do not want the defense sagging off so much. Like wait till he shoots 0 for 4 before you switch things up. 0 for 5. Just let him shoot it. Hopefully, he gets into a rhythm early. Really, really hope. But let's see. Best believe, man, with this 5-day off, if they're not doing a lot of practice or cardio, best believe I want them to be shooting shots. Like just get in the gym. It don't take too much energy to shoot 500 threes, 200 threes. Just get them up. RJ, get into a rhythm. Yeah, Dirty's an RJ defender at times, but has been passed up by IQ and Grimes, and he needs to recognize that right now. I agree with what you're saying, but what makes me worried is that thought, that thought by RJ that he has to, do something extra to try to outperform these guys. I'm worried about RJ not just playing a role, trying to help the team win. For me, it's not about the numbers with RJ as well. I just want him to play under control, play smart, move the ball. I don't care if he puts up 12 points, but he grabs 8 rebounds, gets 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 6 assists. Because his size is going to just be an impact itself. It's going to help the New York Knicks, right? He don't even need to put the ball in the cup to be effective in this series. You just got to make sure his size is being taken advantage and being utilized, I think, and get other guys easier shots because he pulls gravity. He draws attention, and the less Randle and the less Brunson have to do is going to be big for them, so that they can be fresh. They don't be in foul trouble, and they're not isolating too much as well. So yeah, look for RJ to still come off the curl, secondary action, third action as well. I like him to live in the mid-range a little bit early, try and get into that flow, and of course, get as close to the cup as possible, even if it's backing his man down, back to the basket, kind of like push shot situation and all of that. But Tom Thibodeau and RJ Barrett, that's going to be fascinating, dirty chat. We know how um, willing Tom Thibodeau has been to just pull the pin. I'm sure he loves RJ parts of his game, but there's no love lost with Tom Thibodeau in terms of just doing what's right for the team, right? You said Grimes, you said Quickly's overtaken him. I think Tibbs knows that, and that's at stake right now for the New York Knicks. So, Tom Thibodeau is going to play Hart to close games out. We know. In fact, he might even play Hartenstein over Mitch anytime that's required. So that's going to be big. Tom Thibodeau having no patience and just making that move right now. I think there's going to be times Tom Thibodeau might even play 8-man. If I'm keeping it honest, I could see that. I could see an 8-man rotation at times, especially in the second halves. It might be a 9-man rotation for the game, but an 8-man rotation for the second half. With that said, we know Tom Thibodeau's style in the playoffs, man. It's just pick up wins. Don't worry about the next series. Just grind this team out, grind out dubs late. And hey, if guys are rolling, I'm okay with that. Let's say Josh Hart is just being an absolute menace, pulling in 6 offensive rebounds with 6 assists, and he's balling. Just roll with it. Roll with that the rotation late as well, especially on the road. Players that are most comfortable and they're producing, then roll with it, man. Now Isaiah Hartenstein gives us a little bit more offense, gives us that different look. The passing, excellent on point. He promotes player movement, ball movement. If he's not rebounding very well, then Mitchell Robinson is going to step right in. But if Mitch is struggling, maybe from the line or foul trouble, I could expect maybe Thibs to roll with iHeart to close the game out. Nothing against Mitch. It's just Thibs is going to roll with whoever's hot. I don't think there's going to be any bias between any player in this series. It's just whoever's got it going, they're going to stay on the floor until the next game, and we see what happens, keep us in the game. But man, this is what it's all about. Stakes are the highest, right? Fans on edge, players on edge, coach pushing the buttons. It's going to be fun. It's going to be adjustments. Now, I talked about how well the Knicks shot on the road, 42% from 3 in the 2 games in Cleveland. So that's encouraging for me. The team seems to feel like they can swish in Cleveland. I think it's a very friendly shooting arena. I think, we've seen Cleveland shoot pretty well in their arena, get hot as well. And the New York Knicks have also shot really well. So that's great. We shot 50% from the field in Cleveland over the 2 games, and 45% at MSG in the 2 games that we won. And we shot 45%, I think, from the field and 35% from deep at MSG. So, the MSG games might be even more difficult to win, really. I don't really know. I can't say hand on my heart whether the Knicks have a home court advantage in a series like this, just because I feel like we have a better chance, or if not more even chance to win on the road as we do at MSG. I mean, we just feel like there's no pressure on us when we play on the road. We play with some kind of focus, and the shooting, the unselfishness and moving the ball on the road just seems to be better than at home, man. Yeah, so Dirty mentioned the RJ being with the low volume, staying in control as well. Also, the size advantage, yet he has more decisive and effective. Cavs trying to hide Mitchell on him could really be bad for them. Yep. Yeah, you mentioned the efficiency too. The worry with RJ is when he has the green light, that's when he starts to force it a little bit as well. So, yeah, whilst take advantage of the matchup, but recognize where the teammate is and the play to be made. And I think it's going to be nice. With that said, I cannot wait for game one. I think Julius Randle being questionable is a positive thing. I think he's definitely going to give it a go. He's going to push it all the way till tip. And I could also see them pulling the pin late and just rocking out with game one. But it's looking more positive. I think we saw the Woj thing. He's targeting game one. And I really, really won't be surprised if he goes. I think that'll send a message to Cleveland about the toughness of this team, right? The spirit, let's face it, if Julius Randle never rolled his ankle, chalk him up for 82 games. That was his goal. That's something he took pride in, and he loves playing. He doesn't like taking nights off. He's that kind of guy, and there's not many left in the league. He's a different breed, and Julius Randle needs to be saluted for that because yeah, he really is a co-captain, co-captain. I know his frustrations and his actions can let the team down at times, but in terms of his actions in game on the court with his production, Julius Randle's a big part of us being the 5th seed, winning 47 games. Man, all NBA looks like, all star for the second time, and I think he has a personal mission, to rectify the situation 2 years ago, and that was a learning experience. It was his first foray into the playoffs, and I think Atlanta did an excellent job at the soft double, and testing Julius's decision making. And of course, we didn't really have too many other guys that he could, kick the ball to. Elfrid Payton, Reggie Bullock. I mean, Julius was in a really tough situation at that, but he did take a lot of isolation heavy contested shots, in that series. And I think this team's completely different. I think he trusts his teammates more. That spirit that the team plays with, the unselfishness at times, making that extra pass. I think Julius's passing has improved this season. I'd like him to limit the contested shots in the playoffs because that's going to be momentum swinging. If he's shooting fadeaway out of bounds and and it's a deep rebound and Cleveland can get out, that's going to be tough to watch as well. But I'm really, really watching Randle in this series with a keen eye to see how much he's grown, as a player. Talk about him being a building block for this next championship run, hopefully. A great playoff performance from Julius Randle will silence a lot of that noise, man. A lot of that noise. But of course, he's going up against some elite defenders, which is going to be huge for that test. But realistically, we know good. Like I keep saying, good offense, better offense beats good defense, because Randle can move better than Evan Mobley. He can move better than Jarrett Allen. He can do more things. Let's keep it real on the court. He can hit. He can twist and turn his body. He could step back. He can blow by. He can finish with the jam. He could have savage jams sometimes and murder someone at the line. Down the lane. You want to get out of the way. So, man, that ankle. Let's hope it's all Gucci with Randle's ankle. I really don't know how Mobley will react to Randle's level of physicality. Mobley is a good defender, but he doesn't seem to like contact at that point. That's going to be a big test for Mobley, 100%. And making Randle, make sure Randle knows that Mobley feels his physicality. And yeah, also getting Mobley into foul trouble is going to be big, dirty, like you said. And I think also the reason the Knicks overcame the Cavs and blew them out in the final game was because of our physicality and ball movement as well. Without Jarrett Allen, Mobley cannot contain everyone by himself. I think there's going to be, fairly a large amount of pressure on Mobley. With that said, if Randle's not 100%, then all bets are off. Who knows? Um, the Cavs rely on Mobley a lot too for offense as well. So it's going to be a bit of both, back and forth. But I will say this about Randle: a locked-in Randle on the defensive side, and there's no better time than the playoffs for Randle to focus, lock in. He can be a really nice defender. Focus on getting steals. He can strip. He's a solid one-on-one post defender as well, and he can hold his own on the perimeter as well, checking dudes at times as well. So look out for that to be a big X factor. If Randle's defense elevates, that's going to give this team a nice boost for this team overall, because we know regular season Julius defensively doesn't lock in as much as he can, and that's keeping it real. I think everyone knows that, some Thibs teams, they don't have another gear that they can go to because everyone's going hell for leather. Well, Julius Randle doesn't go hell for leather on defense. You see fans, he irates them sometimes because, like I said to coach, he doesn't make the third, fourth rotation necessary sometimes, and maybe that's strategic. He's saving his energy for the offensive side. But he's been on ice. He's been fresh with minus the ankle situation. So if we come out and see a savage Randle that's locked in and fully healthy, ready to go, and he gives us a 42-minute masterclass and helps us win game one, that's going to be a huge statement for the New York Knicks right there. And let's not forget, man, there'll be pressure on Randle internally on himself. He has to be going into this series and saying, man, I'm the only all-star on the New York Knicks, man. I'm our all-star. So I'm taking this team to victory. I'm the player that's going to lead us to winning this series, right? Put respect on my name because, minus Brunson, the other big reason why we were the fifth seed, 47 wins, is because of me. And I've been able to dominate the Cavs at times as well. Like you said, physicality. No one can really check me when push comes to shove. Julius Randle's like, man, who's going to step up to me, right? Evan Mobley, no thanks. Jarrett Allen is maybe the only guy that can get in Julius Randle's face from a physical standpoint. So let's look out for that, man. Like you said, I like the point about Mobley. Offensively, defensively, he's a big X factor that could be in the Knicks' favor or the other way. That's something Coach pointed out tonight. Evan Mobley's suspect offense at times, and as well as his defense in the paint. Mobley's perimeter defense is excellent. Obviously, he's in conversation for a defensive player of the year, so put respect on his name. But from a young player, physical perspective, it could be interesting. We got some action tonight. Dirty says, not going to lie, I'm enjoying how soft the Heat and Adebayo are looking right now. Let's pull this up right now and check the scores. Yeah, as we see the Heat and the Bulls, 61-60 in favor of the Heat with 4 to play in the third. Yep, so that's close. Yep. Who are you going to expect to get out of that game tonight? It looks like it's neck and neck. Then, of course, we have the Wolves versus the Thunder tonight as well later on. Yep, playoff ball has arrived. I'm enjoying this already. Let's hope it's a deep, deep run. We here. We are the tougher team, tougher, deeper team, and they have the talent advantage and home court. Yeah, yeah, it's classic defense meets offense. I think too, fam. Bull in a china shop. Tom Thibodeau versus a team with more finesse. I'll say. I think Jalen Brunson's got the finesse, but I think Randle and Barrett's game is more of the bull. Whereas Garland, Spider, Mobley, that's more finesse. So yeah, it's the officiating. as well is going to play a huge factor in this situation. Like we just said, man, I think if they allow the Knicks to be more physical, it's going to be to our advantage, if I'm keeping it real, with our extra perimeter defenders. And I think the physicality is going to play into our hands, man. Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson. Uh, if Mitch can get away with some things and not get a foul called, that's gravy for us to keep him on the floor. If Mitch picks up 3 fouls in the first quarter or first half, we're going to have Hartenstein out there a lot more, and that evens the rebounding edge that we normally have. Don't forget Jarrett Allen's very solid. I think it's the rest of the team that's weak rebounding. With that said, also if I'm Thibs, I'm telling every single guard we have to box out and crash the glass because our guards rebounding is completely supreme over the Cleveland's guards rebounding as well. You're talking about Neto, Ricky Rubio, Garland, Spider. They're not strong rebounders at all at the guard spot. Isaac Okoro, a lot's going to be on Isaac, man. Jet Life, how we feeling, man? Salute Knicks diehards. We here. I got the Knicks all day, every day, man, all day. We didn't come this far for me to select the Cavs, and I'm using a bit of my head and my heart to say that there's a way for the Knicks to win this series, and I think we will. I think we will win this series in 6. I could very easily see it going 7, and I will still select the Knicks, but I think the most likely way is 6. I think we just start the series really, really well. I think it becomes very clear how even the teams are, forgetting the seeding and the regular season results. I think people are just selecting the Cavs because of Spider and because of the consistency of the Cavs and the seeding. But I don't think they're really evaluating the two current state of the teams, and the Knicks later part of their season, man. So I got the Knicks in 6. I think we win one of the first 2 games. I think it's game 1. Then I think we win both at MSG. And then we lose game 5 on the road. Cleveland come back desperate, down 3-1. Then I think the Knicks close it out at MSG in 6, right, where the crowd goes crazy, I think. Yeah. It's weird because they have the better D and we have the better O. Doesn't really make sense with the personnel. Yeah. Look, I think the 82 game season is so long and the teams change throughout the season so much. They evolve throughout the season to get to where they are. Don't forget how young the Knicks average age is as well. So this team in the first half of the season is so different to the New York Knicks now. And I think the standings from the Josh Hart trade onwards suggest to me that this Knicks team is as good as, or if not stronger than, the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you take away all the little injuries the Knicks dealt with Brunson, with Randle out, with Mitch out, Hartenstein needing to step in, I think this Knicks team was easily was a 52, 53 win team without those injuries, and with Josh Hart maybe starting the season. So I'm looking at it sort of in a shorter sample size, but from what we can do right now, how we've evolved and grown as a team. I mean, just recently, Emmanuel Quickley's play and Quentin Grimes alone has told me that they're big time. They're ready to be, they're NBA starters in this situation now, and that's just going to overcome Cleveland. They don't have anyone off their bench that resembles, I'm even saying resembles, an NBA starter right now. And that's no disrespect. They're NBA players, but not even close to NBA starters with Rubio, Wade, and whoever else they got coming off the bench, Raul Neto, Jetty Osman right now. I think he's regressed a little bit. He's probably the closest, I'll say, Jetty Osman, is the closest to being an NBA starting wing. But even then, I think there's a divide. And Karis LeVert, of course, cannot forget about Karis. He's regressed a lot. He's a nice spark off the bench now for them. He's going to be big. They're going to rely on him a lot off the bench, man. If Randle and Brunson were both healthy, I would pick the Knicks easy, but it's tough to pick against the Cavs with us beat up. That's a great point. That's the biggest worry I have as a fan going into this series. Really, I think that's the great unknown. Yeah, the cloud going in with the injuries and everything. I'm just being optimistic, and I'm assuming that people are good. They're ready to go with the break and the rest that they've had. But yeah, the Randle ankle, the Brunson hand is definitely going to be a situation to look out for, man. Buzzer, salute, man. Appreciate you for the super chats tonight, man. Great to have you in the conversation with Coach Nick. Look, I would love to do play-by-play. I might look into setting things up for next season more, or if we go deeper in the series. I really love watching the games from a intimate perspective, and and focusing on it. Let's see. I won't rule it out. I will see how it goes, man. But I kind of watch the games on edge. I get real tight and real emotional, frustrated watching it as well. So I don't know how that would play, throwing that out there for the playoffs, but we're definitely looking to doing that at some point in the future. 100%, man. Also, EJ handling some business. Appreciate EJ, man. We'll be rocking out all series, all playoffs, all of that. More guests coming on. We've got Bill Daughtry coming on next week as well, and more conversations after game 1, after game 2, as the script gets flipped on this situation. Yep. Dirty says it's arguable we have 3 guys who should be starting on our bench. Yep. That's the crazy setup with the New York Knicks right now. As I tweeted out, there's a world where it's 50% likely that RJ Barrett and Quentin Grimes, 2 starters, don't even finish the games, which you generally won't get that on any NBA team. For 2 starters, maybe 1, but not 2. On a regular basis, sitting 2 starters, RJ and Grimes. Now, with Grimes, I think it's a lot to do with how his defense is going. I think offense, he can be trusted. But with Barrett, I think that speaks to more, like you said earlier, how close IQ's play has grown and exceeded RJ's, growth as well. So I think RJ's kind of clinging on technically to that starting spot. He's only in that starting spot because he's 6'7". I think, like, if Emmanuel Quickley was Emmanuel Quickley in a 6'7" body, I mean, we know the answer to that question. RJ Barrett would not be the starter on this team if Emmanuel Quickley's production was in a 6'7" body. So from that perspective, I think RJ Barrett's technically clinging on to his starting spot right now, which is why there will be games that he will not close the game out. I feel that. Now there'll be most games, I think he'll have that edge to close the game out, but it just depends, man, on how locked in he is and how productive he is as well. Because we know, man, the playoffs is where stars are made. It's no shame to not be able to execute in the playoffs when you're young, 22 years old. That's what's going to make or break a player in this league. Paul B, salute. Coach Combe over. Has to solve his pick and roll D, not like what we saw in the Hawks playoff. Yep, 110%. Yep, needs to fix that. The rotations need to be quick, slick. Also, I'm more inclined to switch. How do you guys feel about players fighting over the screens in the playoffs, or just switching? in the playoffs you see a lot of switching, just because like it's just isolation heavy, and it's like if you can beat my man, you beat him. But I'm not going to keep fighting through screens all season long. Um, it's sometimes better to just switch. And what can favor the New York Knicks is switchable defenders, man. Like I mentioned, Grimes, Hart, quickly, all of those guys. Randle at the big spot, RJ, um, Mitch, Hartenstein can switch well as well. So switchable defenders. The Knicks have a lot of them. Is that a factor? Is that a factor? Does Tom Thibodeau throw a curveball and play more small in this series? Let's see. Um, I think you definitely want to keep Donovan Mitchell and Garland out of the paint. So I think he's going to lean on the big men a lot. Um, but yeah, if you want to make Donovan Mitchell jump shooting, I think all season long, really, if he's going to go cold, then it opens the door up, man. Click salute. Which game out the first two would I prefer to win? Game one, baby, all day, every day. That'd make a statement. It'd calm the nerves. It'd get everyone feeling good. The streets would be buzzing. And I think game one is the easiest game to steal. Um, I tell you, man, if Cleveland have a great performance in game one and they look great and they blow us out or they win, it's gonna create a lot of pressure on this Knicks team to only have one more chance to steal one on the road before having to, take care of home court at MSG. So the pressure mounts as each game goes. And I think if the Knicks can pull game one out by the skin of their teeth, then that's the game I would try. That's the game, man, all in. Everyone's going to be rusty. Everyone's going to be second guessing. Yeah, the crowd's going to be a huge factor as well. Yeah, Thibs just wants to keep it close and then have our bench dominate theirs. It can be frustrating to start slow though. Yeah, yeah, you painted it in a nutshell. I think that's how things are going to go. I think starters are going to be excellent on both sides or handle their business, and then I think it's down to the bench to come in. That's going to be big. We can't let Dean Way go off. Jetty Osman get open looks. So really, I'm looking for Hart to stay locked in quickly as well. Stay locked in as well. Don't forget, a lot of teams don't shoot well in the playoffs, so you don't really need to worry about their offense so much sometimes. But your defense, if you can just give max effort, make it difficult for the other team, you're in with a chance, man. You're always in with a chance late. Um, like you said, if the game just stays close, it's going to be down to pressure and execution, man. I think uh, I think Jalen Brunson compared to Spider is not getting maybe enough thought, enough credit. I think he's equally, if not a better closer than Spider. He's proven that in the playoffs already. He's proven that with the New York Knicks this season. It might just come down to health, rust, like you said. Also, Jalen Brunson can force it at times. Let's keep it real. So, he could be that decoy sometimes. Like if Brunson can average, 7, 8 assists this series, I really like the Knicks' chances. Um, everyone going to look at Brunson's points and how many points Brunson can put up. Can he put up 30, 40, 50? I'm going to be looking at Jalen Brunson's assists as a reflection of how great our offense is moving. And 7, 8, 9 assists for Brunson. I think that's it. It's a good story for the Knicks offense and their chances because it means other players are pitching in, and getting points also. Salute Knicks one day, Knicks won today, tomorrow let's go. Yeah. The Cavs are stale when Garland and Spider aren't hot, and we got a gang of styles and looks on offense. So let's go get this money. Yeah, you said it. I like our versatility. Ability to adjust throughout the series. I'm not saying Tom's going to adjust, but our ability to adjust is there. We're supposed to have the great scouting department, some really IQ heavy players quickly. I think Jalen Brunson's IQ is really good. I think Julius Randle's IQ has improved with his decision making, but we know some players aren't. RJ Barrett at times, Mitchell Robinson, not the greatest IQ, you know, uh, not throwing any shade on them. It's just IQ. It is what it is. Late in the games, they have given us some blunders as well. But I do like our steady guard play, ability for more ball handlers on the court. Like I said, they want to trap Jalen Brunson. That's cool. Play Brunson off ball. Let Emmanuel quickly, RJ or Hart or Grimes bring it up. That's going to keep Brunson fresh also, and it's going to allow him to play the two guard spot and just come out as a gunner off the screens as well. Maybe light Spider up. Uh, Yeah, I agree with the drop coverage at times. It can kill you. Uh, Not the biggest fan myself, but I guess for a 7 game series, I think it might play more in our favor because teams generally don't shoot that hot for that many games. They might get hot 1 or 2 or 3 games, hopefully, but nothing more than that. I think protecting the paint and owning the rebounds, fam, is going to be big. Um, the drop coverage also allows us to rebound well because our defenders are in position to box out and get those rebounds as well. But yeah, we do have to pray that they miss also. Um, One thing's for sure, man. Let's hope guys like Dean Wade and all them have already got their good shooting nights out of the way, you know, and it's back to the average. Uh, yeah, if RJ's activity on D, yeah, you could really roam off a Coro, but he doesn't get enough deflections to be worth him gambling. Here's where I could see RJ thriving in this series is the small ball look. I really can. We can play compact, fast, getting out. If RJ's at the 4, now I don't know what that means. Does that mean Randle's not healthy? Does that mean Randle's at the 5? Maybe off the bench unit, RJ plays more 4. You know, maybe let's say Obi's defense is even worse, and Thibs rolls with RJ at the 4 off the bench, and he has a lineup of like let's say IQ, Deuce or Grimes, Hart, RJ, and Hartenstein as well. That's playing to the advantage of getting fast. Um, without Obi, you miss that transition ability. But if you substitute RJ at the 4 for Obi, you can still remain solid, rebounding, and compact. Also, um, my opinion on RJ's losing weight is music to my ears. I think that's what needs to happen. I think RJ Barrett can get back to being an average or above average defender with losing some of the weight. A quicker foot speed as well. Yep, he is heavy. Really, I think he really is a true tweener right now between a 3 and a 4 in the league with being effective. Um, I'm not talking about being size wise. I'm just saying being effective in the league. He's just not quick enough to play the 3 spot effectively, and he's a bit undersized for the 4. We know, but right now, if he loses weight, he can pull that skew closer back to being a 3. Try to get more foot speed, man. I would get RJ with some track and field dudes and just work on the running and the track and field with RJ as well. I think some of the handles, the ball handling, the skill sets improved enough. It's improved slightly, but RJ just got to get that foot speed, man. Uh, yeah, possessions with the starters, and they're going to be cross matching. The team that does that better has the big advantage. Yeah, I like that too, cross matching. I think that plays in our favor. I can see that. I really do. I think their backcourt is undersized. Uh, we don't actually have the largest backcourt either, but I think Grimes 6'4", Hart 6'4", Barrett 6'7". I think our guards rebound better than their guards as well. So yeah, that's going to be big. Yep, definitely. RJ rebounding better than Obi. Um, we're so versatile, but in a very rigid way. Sometimes like Obi can give us the 3 ball, but can't give us D. RJ can't give us D, but he can give us the 3 ball sometimes as well, and getting to the cup. So that's interesting. Obi needs to show out so he can recoup some value in this off season. That's a huge storyline to watch. Or it could be maybe the opposite. He shows out and the New York Knicks feel like he's a keeper. How do you feel about that? Yep. Tired of hearing about RJ's trainer. He needs someone new around him. I think another year, he just needs more focus. Really, I think that's the start of that. Um, Playing more off-season ball is going to be great. I think he's going to be in excellent condition if he plays World Cup ball with Team Canada. And also, yeah, he can just focus more on that. I think the contract situation, getting the bag, the Donovan Mitchell rumors, that was unsettling. And I think that's going to be something that is out of the way now. RJ Barrett can focus on being the best version of RJ, you know? Um, so, yeah, this thing could go so many different ways, man. I've thought about it and thought about it. And I really do like the Knicks' chances in 6. I'm not disrespecting Cleveland's ability to win this series. They definitely can show up. And I think game 1 is going to show us just how legit both teams are. And then the pressure mounts, like I said, after every single game, the pressure goes up and up and up. And I feel like game 1's the perfect chance to steal the best game, man. You go into game 1 and try to give the almighty haymaker and the biggest punch you can give, because the home team has pressure on them. You cannot come out nervous. You cannot come out gimpy. Just throw everything in the kitchen sink at Cleveland in game 1, right? You try and get that dub. And another reason is because you're playing with house money, right? The away team is not expected to win game 1, but game 2, more pressure mounts. So throw everything, throw caution to the wind in game 1. And I think if you can win that one, the series is just, man, it swings. It's wide open. With that said, man, psychologically, you create more doubt in the minds of Cleveland, because let's not forget, we have the edge 3-1 throughout this season series. And I think we're a better team than when we started this season, man. You look at guys on the screen with Brunson, with Quickly, uh, and I think, yeah, Julius Randle's health is going to be big. I think we can win a lot of games without Julius. Can we win 4 games without Julius? I don't know. I think that's going to be very, very tough. That's going to come down to everyone else, like elevating, stepping up. You know, RJ Barrett on the ball might have himself an excellent series if Randle doesn't play 2 or 3 games. Um, I also don't like the ability for Randle to maybe re-aggravate the injury as well. So you bring it all the way to the tip, day to day, see if he's right. But if there's any doubt, you sit back. You sit back on game 1. I think Julius is very, very valuable. We could easily win the last 4 games of the series if we just keep Julius right. Does RJ start for Team Canada? That's going to be a great question to look for. I think you got SGA. Then who else would you have? Is it Nemhard? I think you got guys like Nemhard now, but I would say he has been. I would say that RJ's been starting. Okay, you got Wiggins, you got Murray as well, and you got Shea. So, I mean, that answers the question, I think, man. I can't see him starting over maybe Wiggins, but maybe not. Yeah. Knicks 26 champ, salute. How you feeling? Got to take at least 2 in Cleveland, to win this series. Yep. Our home record's not great too, so I think, funnily enough, I think there's pressure on Cleveland at home, and I think there's more pressure on us to win at home. So we might need to win both our games on the road to start. Man, we are road warriors. Let's not forget. Yeah, Bachi salute. Yeah, we were 3-1 against ATL. That's a fact. That's definitely a factor in this. But I just think we're such a different team to then, and I think we're more evenly matched with the Cavs in terms of matchups as well. Yeah, like you said, got to anticipate Cavs can win one at MSG, yeah, 100%. But we know the crowd's special. We know that atmosphere, that moment is going to be special. Jalen Brunson, the crowd going off, the defense. I think we can really rattle the Cleveland Cavaliers at MSG um, if they're shooting cold and we're rebounding really well, getting out on the break, and the crowd going nuts. Yep. Yeah, exactly, man. Hurting your ankles can ruin. Yep. Yep. Hope that doesn't rush him too soon. Yeah, today's report from Woj, it's looking optimistic. They're targeting game one, which lets you know that it's game two, game three is very, very likely. But I think it's just game one. Do you risk that or not? There's multiple day break also. But also we know how much is riding on this series, We're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers. You can't get cute sometimes as well. Our chances of winning this series might lie on Julius Randle playing all of the games. It's going to be close. It's going to come down to like multiple late game possessions, follies, all of that ability to draw fouls. Also, you know, one of Julius's most underrated values to this team is drawing attention, double teams, and getting fouled. I know he doesn't get as many calls as he would like, but I think sometimes he does get those fouls, and then he gets the and one. He's so strong, he can double pump fake, get a foul, and get contact and hit it. So, also, I would just love this season to end on a positive note for Julius, as well as the team. Of course, he's a two-time All-Star in 4 years, and we know another flop in the playoffs. That narrative is gonna stay, from 2 years ago. Um, but also, I think there will be a lot of pressure on Brunson as well. If Brunson doesn't have a great series and he struggles, some Knicks fans are going to be like, okay, Brunson's, is he the guy we need to, or do we go after a Dame? Do we go after someone else? God knows who. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Brunson's the guy I trust the most. I think he's going to be solid. He knows if he doesn't have it going and he's getting, guarded really, really tight, that I think he's going to make the right play. I think he's going to get the ball moving, all of that stuff. But he's crafty. We know Brunson's going to draw fouls. Definitely. Yeah, Paul says RJ definitely needed to go see an optometrist before the playoffs. I think he might come back a new man. Let's see. Yeah. Less than 24 hours till game time. AC getting itchy, 100%. I'm getting itchy right now. That's why I'm glad to be here talking to you all about this thing because, yeah, we're close, man. We're so, so close. It's the weekend. Happy Friday, everyone out here, end of the week. Salute. First game of the playoffs. Let's do a score check right now on the matchup between the Bulls and the Heat. With 6 minutes remain, the Heat are down 80 to the Bulls 85. Boy, would that be huge if the Heat lost. I think, it's kind of the story of the Heat's season. I predicted early. I was one of the first people to predict a Heat downfall just because of not talent, but just attrition. Jimmy Butler is aging and he's carrying a big load. I think they relied a lot on Kyle Lowry and a lot on Victor Oladipo to be closer to being stars than they hoped. So that's tight. On the flip side, we got Vooch, Levine, DeRozan, the closer, Caruso. Um, And I think, yeah, generally the Bulls were the better team, talent-wise, with Lonzo healthy. I think the Chicago Bulls could have been a worthy 5th or 6th seed if Lonzo was healthy, all season. But yeah, man, it'll be sweet tonight. Love watching the Heat lose. They had the chance, they had the chance to beat us and failed, which hurt their seeding. And of course, the Brooklyn Nets being strong, still Mikal Bridges, the depth they've got as well. At the end of the day, I think the Heat a little bit too top heavy with Jimmy and with Bam. I know Tyler Hero's kind of nice, but that's kind of it, really. I mean, we're keeping it a buck. It's Jimmy, Tyler Hero, and Bam. That's not enough. It's too much reliance on 3 guys, I think. And that's why this Knicks team's so good. We've built this squad now full of depth. Next man up. Depending on RJ to win this series is fool's gold. This Cavs team is built to stop RJ. Yep, 100%. Having said that, if RJ can win us 1 or 2 games, that's all he needs to do. Just play his role, step up big in a couple of games. He might stink for 3 games, but if 2 crucial games he steps up and helps us, that's all we need. Like I said, we got horses that can all step up individually. It's going to be a 7-game series collective. And I think if RJ Barrett can have himself a big time performance with 30 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, that's going to be great. Yeah, Paul, Coach Combe over, man. You said it. Playoff record questionable. Big time series for Tom. How does he play this thing? How does he adjust? It's going to be huge. I cannot wait. Yep. Knicks won today. Salute. Yeah, 100% agree. As long as he plays solid D, I don't care about the points for RJ. Yet converts when it presents, move the ball on, all of that stuff, man. Like you said, keeping his head in the game. Also, not getting beaten. Back door. RJ's looked okay post All-Star break because they're giving him the easiest matchups. Yep. I think that's going to be something that we'll continue to see moving forward. I think, and also just the acquisition of Hart and Grimes, they are better defenders. Yep. Yeah, Knicks 26 champs has no faith in RJ in this series moving in. So yeah, that would surprise you if he balls out. Dirty says, sadly, I would sign up for 30% from 3. He's been awful from deep lately. I think it's possible he can shoot 33, 35 if with less attempts. But they're going to be scheming dirty. We know they're going to be like trying to sag off. Maybe let RJ Barrett, shoot early, just to see. And like you pointed out, shooting from the top is not his spot. It's really not a great mechanic, really. I'm not a fan of RJ's jump shot, really, off the toes. He doesn't get any elevation, and he shoots too heavy with his arms. He doesn't get that natural body elevation up. It's more of a push shot. Now, from the corner, I feel pretty good with RJ shooting from the corner, but from the top, yeah, it's tough. Yep. Yeah, 100% click. I watch every game on League Pass. Definitely, we get the MSG feed. Of obviously, internationally, there's no blackouts, so League Pass full premium. We can watch any different teams announce coverage. Also, what you do get is you get in arena footage, so you get to watch even during timeouts. They don't go to no commercial breaks or advertising. When there's a timeout, you just sit there. You get to watch what's going on in the arena on the usually the jumbotron footage as well. So yeah, can't say enough how good League Pass is. You don't get the commercial breaks. Also, you get the post game. You get the pre and post games on MSG. Also, when the game's done, they don't chop the feed. You just get to continue to watch. So yeah, I'm very, very lucky with that. And how are you guys gonna watch, man? Yeah, yeah. Not League Pass for the playoffs. Yep. Thing is 40 per month. Yep. With the game though. The problem is Jules and Jalen all like the left side, where RJ is best from it. Three lefties coming back. um, I want you guys to tell me, name the three players that you have that you feeling the most good about the Knicks having a good series, that you trust the most, that you think is going to have the biggest impact. Give us the top three players that you think, and let's see the consensus going in right now. Let's see who everyone got the most faith in coming in. I'll start it off, man. I'm going to say Jalen Brunson at the top, Emmanuel Quickly second, and I'm kind of leaning towards Mitch third, or Quentin Grimes. I think it's no coincidence I've chosen Quickly and I've chosen Grimes, because coming in, they're in form, right? We mentioned the doubts with injuries with Randle, with RJ's form. Josh Hart's been a little slumpy recently. And I think if you're going into the playoffs, you're going in form with the jump shot wet. I think over the 7-game series, man, I think they're going to light it up. And Knicks 26 champs agrees with me on that. Uh, like I said, it's a close one with Mitch. I feel good about Mitch having a good series just because he does the intangibles, He does the blocks, the rebounding. But in terms of offense, defense, Brunson, Grimes, IQ, man, yep, huge in this series. Yep. Dirty went with IQ, Hart, and Grimes. Yep. That's smart too. Brunson's injury cloud, but yeah, Hart. Can't say enough about Hart, man. He's a gamer because, man, we know 28 years old. He's never played in the playoffs as well. He's going to be chomping at the bit. You know it. He's going to lay his body all out there, like Brunson as well. Click also agrees as well, man. We're on the same page with Brunson, Quickly, and Grimes. Yep. Yep. Minus the injury to Jalen, the foreign players coming in really all season long. Brunson's just been the most consistent. And then, of course, Quickly recently, he's going to get 30 plus minutes no matter what. Even Quickly's the kind of guy where even if he's shooting really inefficient, he's least likely for Tom Thibodeau, to pull out. I think even if he's not shooting well, because his defense is going to be solid, and his ability to hit the big game shot is big. Also, like Grimes. Also, another player in form. Let's not ignore Isaiah Hart. Going to have a great series. The Cavs really don't have that kind of big coming off the bench. Yeah, you spelled that out. Salute. Yeah, 100%. That's where the bench again, comes in, man. I think the more our starters can just keep even with the Cavs starters along the whole way, I think over the course of the series, our bench points production will be much higher than the Cleveland's bench when it comes down to it, because we can really play tough. Now, let's throw out a question. Now, let's throw some surprise factors. Like, what's the most likely surprise we might see? Throw it out there. I'll say mine. I think the most likely surprise factor for me, I could see happening, but it would still be a surprise, would be Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride playing, a significant factor in this series. I think Tom Thibodeau can trust him to give you 10, 12 minutes. Let's say Garland and Spider, one of these games at MSG, we come out slow, we're in a funk, we're down 13. You know, we need to stem the momentum. Spider and Garland are going off. We need a Deuce McBride to come in, I think, 6, 7 minutes, come in, change the energy. I think that's something we could see. Obi, I could see him maybe surprising and playing well. Tom Thibodeau playing him more minutes. But I think McBride and Jericho Sims a more likely surprise. I think Tom Thibodeau trusts their fundamentals, coming in, man. Yeah. Yeah, salute to the chat. AC props to you, fam. Let's go. All the diehards in the streets. It's been a long, long time. We're the best fan base in the biz. And it's just time to enjoy this thing because it's not all riding on this season. We know we're heading in the right direction for this team now. And I think this season we could really put ourselves on the map in the Eastern Conference. We can surprise some people. I don't know if you guys saw the ESPN majority predictions. I think it was 13-4 went with Cleveland. So that's a huge swing with that. Not a lot of hope or respect, given to the Knicks in this. Although most people do say it's going to be a tight series, it's going to go long, it's going to be even. But I'm kind of surprised with that, given how well the Knicks finished the regular season. In the last second half of the year, I thought more people would like the Knicks' chances, but maybe the home court, the injuries, maybe that's the factor as well. Ihart's passing is another big X factor as well. Yep. Grimes going to new levels. Yep. Talk about new levels. A star could arrive. A star could be born in this playoff series with Quentin Grimes, right? In fact, how ironic, how serendipitous would that be? The fact that he was Mr. Untouchable going into the Donovan Mitchell deal, which didn't allow that deal to go down. Could you imagine if Spider Mitchell blows it late and Quentin Grimes is the hero for that? I still don't think Leon Rose would get any flowers. Yeah. Julius getting playoff commercials now. That's buzzing right now.
CT, what's going on? How about those Knicks playing good D, Tom Thibodeau basketball?
Yeah, the whole team's getting more attention, I think, and it's only going to grow. I think if the Knicks or the Cavs get past, each other, and then the next round against Milwaukee is going to be nice. It's going to be big. Yeah, this is less of a surprise and more of a hope. But I hope RJ is consistent this series. Yeah, that is a bit of both, no doubt. And like I made the point earlier with RJ, he doesn't need to come in and just be the king of the series. He just needs to step up at the most critical times to help us win a game. The rest of the soldiers will do the work as well. It's not all a one-man band. But I think RJ Barrett stepping up in the right moment is going to be big. Yeah, I kind of agree. McBride does need to play a little bit as well. Some games there's going to be foul trouble, best believe that. Some games there's going to be injuries. I think McBride is our 10th man. He's earned that spot. And anytime we need 10 men, McBride's going to get minutes. I like Grimes' underrated ability to dribble, get penetration, open up the defense. Don't just let Cleveland think of Grimes as a spot-up shooter. I think once Grimes catches, if he can dribble, attack, throw the pass, open it up, he's versatile. Definitely, he's versatile, man. I think we can't get used to just being a jump shooting team. Let's get Cleveland's defense scrambling and get the trees moving. If we just let the trees stand there under the bucket, near the bucket, that's going to be tough for us. We need to get them moving, get them working. AC says hopefully Grimes has grown a bit down this stretch where he is more consistent in the series. No 4 or 5 point games and then an 18 or 20 point game. More 15-point games. Yeah. Also, I'm looking for his defense, like you said, points, but defense to be really consistent. There are some games he can struggle at times, and he can make bad fouls. Remember, he is prone to fouling on the closeouts as well, given 3-point plays. Yep. So, what's the situation now with the Bulls? The Heat. Wow, the Heat are up 93-90 with a minute 39 remaining. So Jimmy Buckets lives to fight another day, and he's risen to the occasion. Salute to Jimmy Buckets. Up to 29 points in 41 whopping minutes, carrying the team. Max Strauss has 25 points in 34 minutes, so he's stepped up big as well. Bam Adebayo shrunk in the moment, 7 points in 36 minutes, but with a whopping 16 rebounds, okay? So he's rebounding. Tyler Hero, 12 points in 38 minutes. Let's keep our eye on that in crunch time. League pass alert. Can Zach LaVine answer the call? Now, Dirty says surprise prediction. I think RJ plays more minutes at the 4 than Obi is. Yeah, I like that in terms of chances of that happening. I think either way, some guys are going to have to get squeezed out at some point, closing it out. I think the fact that he loves quickly and he loves Hart so much, I think it's going to come down to RJ and Obi competing for minutes. I think definitely. Just because the fact that those other guys are more well-rounded. Hart can give you rebounding, steals, stops, charges, all of that stuff if he's not scoring. If RJ's not scoring, he's generally not doing too much. If Obi ain't scoring, he's generally not doing too much. The best surprise, especially thinking where we were not too long ago, but the fact we aren't even talking about D Rose because of depth at the point guard spot. Yeah. Man. That's kind of crazy as well. Every day I forget about D Rose and what's actually happening. You know, we know he's regressed, but to not even be in consideration now we're in the playoffs. I think, does he decide to retire? Let's see. Yep. Knicks 26 makes a great point. Yeah, the Heat may be pushing Milwaukee. Maybe they are more built to push them instead of the Chicago Bulls. How do you guys feel about that, chat? As we pull up the score now, it's 96-91. The Heat up 5 with 39 seconds to play. The Heat have had a huge last quarter, 29-23, after losing the third quarter, 18-24. So a huge comeback from the Heat. Obviously, they got the home court advantage as well. So yeah, the crowd probably going insane right now. So yeah, less than 24 hours away. Post game will be tomorrow, right after the game, or maybe 30 minutes after the game. We'll have to get the show all set up and everything. We might be taking some live calls as well. We'll see how it goes, but I'm feeling like positive, feel good vibes are going to come. I really do, and I think it's going to be a great first game. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a lot to talk about heading into game 2. If Julius plays, how does he play? If he sits, is he going to be ready for game 2? That's going to be interesting. But I think, yeah, the Knicks' best chances of winning is winning game 1 out of the first 2. Yeah, so it's game over. The Miami Heat looking like closing that out, or it's over already. Waiting for this to refresh. Yeah. Reese, what's good? I can't believe all these teams are blowing these big leads. Yeah. I think ability to have a guy like Jalen Brunson, a guy with the ball, that's assured could draw fouls, get a crazy floater, a step back three. I mean, one thing's for sure, man, I'm not going to take this for granted. Watching Jalen Brunson in the playoffs, we've been to hell and back watching these makeshift point guards from another planet try to come in. Jimmer Fredette, Tony Roten, all of these dudes, Ron Baker, Jarrett Jack. I've lost count, man. Now here we are in the playoffs with a bona fide All NBA caliber guy that can make shots, hit teammates, take charges, and lead us to a series victory. Yeah, I cannot wait to watch that. As the Heat are up 8 now, 99-91, as it refreshes or it's finished, but it's done for, man. So the Heat, Milwaukee, great first round series. I like that. What do we got? The Heat, Milwaukee. Then we got the Celtics, Hawks. So yeah, the Hawks surprised. What did you guys think about the Hawks win? The Hawks, the Hawks obviously beat the Heat as well to progress and win that spot. I think they could give Celtics a good test. I think they could take them 6. Trae Young goes off. They could win 2 or 3 games. So hopefully that series gets a little longer. And of course now we got the Heat and we got the Bucks. So that's going to be nice. Yeah, the Heat Bucks, of course. This series is the best series. Philly Brooklyn might surprise some people. That might. I'm looking forward to that. Also, the other news, just to recap, we had the finalists announced for the awards, and Emmanuel Quickley is in the top 3 finalists now for 6-man. You know my thoughts on that situation. I think stats and all of that can you can make a case for any of those players. They've all had outstanding years, but I think Emmanuel Quickley's impact on his team and winning and our late run. Maybe you could say Brogdon's had a better 82 games, but I think recency bias plays in a little. Emmanuel Quickley coming in, making a huge statement late, to propel this team. And I think he's fully deserving of that, but pleasing to see him, in that category. Now the other Knicks stud, Jalen Brunson, a finalist for top 3 for most improved player as well. Very, very satisfying to see for him, choosing the Knicks as free agent destination, got paid the bag, is the captain of the team, leading the team. Coach Nick tonight, he's spoken about Brunson has a case for being an MVP type candidate, but MIP candidate, absolutely. He's raised his game to just another level, maybe 2 levels, I think. And I think we're going to see it in the playoffs. We're really going to see the best of Jalen Brunson. It's going to be the point where Knicks fans are going to be like, man, this is our guy to take us to the championship one day as our point guard. Yeah. Allah wise, let the real season begin. You said it. Real season.
Salute, 3 capital S's, you know what I'm saying? And also the capital S stands for the streets is buzzing.
Playoff season buzzing. Yeah, I liked Jarrett Jack at the time, fam. He was just too old. Reese, definitely. Yeah. In terms of the Mavs, they're not stuck in the 10th spot. There's a 20% chance they will fall back down to 11 or 12 if another team can jump up. So, yeah, the Knicks have a 20% chance on lottery night of getting their pick back. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's crazy to me. I've seen that too, dirty about IQ. And, yeah, I'm not surprised a lot of the media and whoever's voting, looks at the Boston Celtics more than they watch the Knicks. Let's face it. There is bias against the Knicks, we have been bad for a long time. Still, a lot of people not willing to give us props. It's crazy. Yeah, but like you said, Click, man, the most biggest impact I think on the team, like in terms of the real six man stepping in when your team needs you as a starter and winning as well, and then falling back in line to the bench when the team needs as well, I think. But it's kind of like splitting hairs. I can kind of understand Brogdon's had an outstanding year as well. I think if I ask Emmanuel quickly face to face, he might be the least phased about this. I think it's just an award. He wants to win. And I think Emmanuel quickly would trade the Six Man of the Year award in a heartbeat for a first round series win. That's just the kind of guy I know IQ to be. He's a guy that's all about winning. That's it. Um, you know, would an award be nice in his third year? Absolutely. Is he deserving? Yep. But just win. Just silence the noise. Yeah, and the dummies vote based on most points and a zero appreciation for the advanced stats or defense. Yeah. Now, top three, and you're splitting hairs, like I said, but anyone who has IQ off their top three ballot, yeah, I don't know what they've watched this season. I really don't. That's just pure hate, basically. But you know what? It really don't matter because we're ready. We're ready for this playoff series, and I think all eyes, all attention is going to be on this series, this schedule. It's going to live up to the hype. I can feel it, and I know it. With that said, man, we'll get ready to wrap this thing up, get some rest, ready for tomorrow to buzz out as well. I'll be on post game. Thought about doing a pre-game for game one, but maybe as we go, we'll see. But I'll be on Twitter, Knicks Buzz, dropping my thoughts about the news about Randle. Let's see what happens. Maybe is there a surprise on the Cleveland side? Maybe Isaac Okoro, they sit him out. Maybe they feel good about game one. Let's see. But out here, everyone, Knicks streets, get ready. We here. We back here. Salute, salute, salute. Go New York, go New York, go. Peace.